The following contains spoilers for Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. So what else? What else did you want to hit up?
I don't know, man. I kind of wanted sort of because I know you and I have both like similarly gone down this rabbit hole and just
Yeah.
like fully lost ourselves in this fucking game. So like I just sort of want to deep dive into like everything.
Yeah.
Like um what are you referring to in your thing here where you say Zigbar Ocelot?
I kind of forget. Like,
Because I was really
I
intrigued by
think,
that because I feel like
yeah.
you're hitting something here.
No, I think my original thought was, I think what I wanted was them to just make the remake kind of how
Mm.
we wanted it to be, and then at the end have that Zigbar Ocelot
Have a
character
moment, yeah.
who's just like post
Like
credits, like, by the way, we're gonna continue this story. We're gonna have a spin-off or a continuation of this some way. I thought that would have been really cool instead of
I
hijacking this game.
kind of wish they would have put all the Zack shit after the credits.
Yeah.
Like because it feels like it really is a thing for the people who already know the story, and it really does kind of just say fuck you new players.
Yeah.
Like you're not really like because you don't know, they don't even like, if you're not, you could potentially be playing that game without subtitles and have no clue who that is.
Yeah.
Like the only
Yeah.
way you even get the name Zack is by reading the subtitles, and that
Yeah.
gives you enough to think like, okay, who is Zack?
Yeah. It gives you enough to
But
Google who
like,
Zack is.
yeah, but like for the most part, it's just like, who is this black-haired cloud? Which I think was it Maximilian dude who made the argument that like there was a point in the game where you do sort of hit that same mystery of like, who's the black-haired cloud? Like he
Yeah.
comes out of nowhere, like this is fucking me up. Like, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's way later. Like we're getting this shit before we've even got to the Nibelheim
Yeah.
flashback, and you're just like,
Like
I'm not ready for this.
they're showing the end of Crisis Core right after the end of Final Fantasy VII, and it's just like
I really
it's
feel like this game is Crisis Core 2.
Crisis Core 2.
Yeah, more so than Final Fantasy VII 2. I feel like this is
Yeah,
the sequel to Crisis Core.
maybe.
But oh, another Wall Market Trio person. I've actually figured out ways how I think all the Wall Market Trio can come back.
Yeah.
But I am convinced that this is right. When you are fucking wandering the desert in the Corel prison
Hmm.
and you fucking are running into sandworms, you get saved by Chocobo Sam.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Like, were
Absolutely.
you thinking that too?
The moment you said when you're running around the desert, I was like, oh yeah. Like I didn't think of that before you said that, but yeah.
Like,
That's gonna be awesome. When
that's gotta be.
like, it's gonna be like you're gonna look out over the desert and it's gonna be, that mirage. Everything's got
Yeah.
that wavy mirage like tint to it, the effect to it.
And that's
And
gonna
then
be so fun getting lost in the
something's
desert and you're just running in every
yeah,
direction.
and you're just
Yeah.
completely lost and you're like just running out of hope.
And there's
And then
some
you just
super OP
see this.
sandworm that apparently sometimes attacks you, and you can kind of escape.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And then
yeah,
you just see this like glimmer of like something coming across the way, and you're like, what is that? You're like out of water, and you're all dried out, and then Chocobo Sam comes in, and he's like, "Howdy, partner. You need a ride?"
that would be so awesome.
Oh man, that's gonna be great. If
And it's
that
also
doesn't happen, fuck man,
it's a
I'm gonna be so
connection
pissed.
between Don Corneo and Gold Saucer. I'm calling it. Our
Yeah,
our prediction on that is right. I think there is an entertainment hospitality industry mafia in this world, and I think I think Don Corneo is pulling the strings on a lot of shit all over the place. Or
yeah,
he's connected to people. He's connected to, I think, Gold Saucer, and even the way that like Wall Market kind of mirrors Gold Saucer and kind of serves as the Gold Saucer of the first game
yeah.
makes me kind of think that we're supposed to think of like these two areas as sort of linked.
It's almost like Gold Saucer is Vegas and Walmart's Reno.
Yeah.
You know?
Or New Orleans. I get such hard New
That
Orleans. I get
the
Bourbon Street
vibe,
vibes
yeah,
so much from Wall Market.
yeah, yeah. No, that's probably a better comparison. Because I remember even before, like when I was doing my when I was doing my live stream, I said that I was like, "Oh my god, this reminds me so much of New Orleans." And then you came in
It's
later,
even
and you were
some.
like,
It's like
"This
some of
reminds
the
me so much of."
corners that you turn around,
Yeah,
and you just like it has this almost like I don't know, this like old French style, but then it suddenly goes super seedy, trashy bar,
yeah,
and then like like as many bars as you can physically fit onto a block.
yeah.
Like, and that's fucking New Orleans. That's Bourbon Street right
There's
there.
they almost. I would not
And
be
even the
surprised one
music.
bit if I heard some of the art directors or whatever, even Nomura himself, something said, "Yeah, we mirrored New Orleans a little bit. We copied and
Yeah.
made it a little bit
And
New
even
Orleans. It
kind
was
of the
inspired
jazzy
by New
like
Orleans." Yeah,
that just felt like something, I don't know. It made me
yeah.
think of. Um But okay, so and then so do you remember? And I don't know if this is totally in my head, but like when we meet Johnny in Costa del Sol,
Hmm.
he's with a woman who
Yeah,
he's living with.
yeah,
And like you kind of get the vibe, and this is where I'm not sure if I'm like adding stuff subconsciously or if this actually is in-game evidence. But you get the vibe that the woman he's with is kind of running his life, and
yeah,
she's kind of like dominant, and like he's just kind of like being Johnny and just kind of like in this situation. I think it would be really fucking cool if that was like if Johnny and Lady M like team up and like escape Midgar together.
yeah,
Because it kind of makes sense that like a lot of Corneo's lackeys are like booking it out of the city, like at the end of this game.
yeah. That'd be cool.
I mean,
Because I'm trying to
obviously
think, like the
Andrea
last.
Rodea is like set up, so he's fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like
He's like a
the
made
other
man.
two might be trying to like fucking get their affairs in order and get the fuck out of
Yeah,
Midgard because Rufus is serious shit,
yeah.
and they're not gonna. They can't really afford to fuck around.
That's something we didn't talk about, which I probably should have put in the notes. Was like at the end, Rufus saw the whispers,
The whispers, yeah,
but Sang
but then
didn't.
they're gone. So it's like, how do you
Yeah,
develop that?
I don't know.
And that's so frustrating because I was like, oh my, that was like the moment where I'm like almost the most excited about the Whispers because like now it becomes this thing that elevates certain characters to a higher place in the story
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're aware of what's going on a higher level.
yeah,
And Rufus is uniquely in this higher level only with basically the main party.
yeah, yeah,
And so like that made Rufus like uniquely interesting late game, and then they just wipe it.
yeah.
And then you just wonder like, so what was the point of showing that Rufus can see it but Sang can't?
That's the thing. We think they're gone. That's something I wish we
Yeah,
had
it's
like
true.
100%
But
confirmation on if the whispers were gone or not. Because
part of me hopes they're not because part of me wants to think that the fight with fate isn't over.
yeah,
As much as people hate the Whispers, I'd kind of rather them be around than all of a sudden like now we whatever we want and we're just gonna change the story and there'll be no repercussion. It's like no, I
yeah,
want something putting you on track because like I want you guys on track. I want you to go to all the right places. And I'm sort of on the Whisper's side.
I can see that. I can see that. I mean, there's I mean, we are the whispers. So like
We are the Whispers, yeah.
so I totally get that.
But I also think the original ending's like not necessarily a bad ending. Like I think people suck.
Oh yeah, like of the original, like the OG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
And
all
and
the humans are dead.
and it's like something I've heard on
Nate.
several podcasts. They've talked about, where the creators were when they made this. I mean, like notoriously was the Sakaguchi's.
Sakaguchi was mourning the death of his
Yeah,
mother.
his mom died, and like most of
Yeah.
this game was about him coming to terms with that, and if nobody dies, then that
What's it
completely
about?
defeats the point of the original game, and I don't know.
But this isn't Sakaguchi's Final
It's not.
Fantasy VII. This is Nomura's Final Fantasy VII, and Nomura hates death.
Yeah. He wants multiple versions of every character more than he wants
He just
any
likes
one of
fashion.
them to die.
He just likes fashion.
Yeah.
Because he's a character designer, and he's a damn good character
Oh yeah,
designer. He
he's great.
created Sephiroth and Cloud and Sid and Tifa and Barret and all of these fucking timelessly great characters.
Yeah, and I mean, not
And
just from 7,
then,
like from every Final
yeah.
Fantasy.
But then in the Final Fantasies after 7, they thought, damn, you did such a good job. We should let you do other shit. And it was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Like, it seriously was. Like, they let him help write the story for Final Fantasy VIII, and it just is kind of nonsense at a lot of parts. And
There's that those skills don't cross over from
he's not a good
character
writer.
designer to,
Which, you know, everyone says he's not the writer. Nojima's the writer.
but he's the director. He still gets final say in
He's the
everything.
director. Yeah, and directors write.
Ultimately,
and directors
yeah.
have writers that rewrite scripts because they want to do their scenes a certain way.
Yeah.
And you know, even if Nomura didn't write the ending of this game, someone wrote the ending of this game with the intention of Nomura directing it.
Yeah.
And so they wrote it for him.
Yeah, they wrote it to please
him. There's no
him.
denying that this is a Nomura ending, whether or not you're accepting that he wrote it or not, or that he even had any influence on the direction it took. Like, this is a Nomura as fuck ending.
Yeah.
And
something I did want to say in the original, in our first section, which I never really got to say, is like, please comment, because again, I love talking about this. And fine, call me an idiot if you want, but please, like, give reasons. Like, don't just call me an idiot and say you're a purist fanboy. Yeah. Like, I want to have a discussion about this.
With that. Like,
yeah,
I'm getting, because there's so many, like, there's like 3 talking points that I hate. Like, and I've seen so much of it. One of them is the one I keep harping on. Nomura didn't write it. Like, okay, that's fine. Like, you can look at the credits and say that this is set in stone and there's no possible way that anybody had any influence outside of what is credited to them. Another talking point that I'm hating and I'm seeing a lot is they're like, it's a remake, not a remaster. Like, you don't expect them to do it exactly the same. And it's like, the purists just want, like, and it's like, one, you guys don't understand what a fucking remake is. So stop being so goddamn condescending about it, because like, a remake is a recreation of the original story, but changing tones and changing minor things. Like, if you want to reboot, then that is like to completely take the existing property and then just rewriting the story. Like, that's essentially what this is.
Yeah.
And really it's more than that. It's a sequel / sidequel. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was like one of the first things I wrote in our notes, was like, a lot of people are saying there's 2 ways they could have done this. They could have made a faithful 1-to-1 recreation, or they could completely change it. And it's like,
which is
no,
nonsense.
There's kind of this middle ground, which everybody
huge
wanted.
Middle ground that they were doing perfectly for 90% of the game.
Yeah.
Like, none of these purists are complaining about Chapter 4 that is entirely new. We all love it.
Yeah.
We all love going to Jesse's house. We all fucking love all the new Wall Market shit. We all love, like, and we're pure, like, we're the people you're calling purists, saying that we just wanted to see Final Fantasy VII, like, 1-for-1 recreated in better graphics. It's like, nobody wanted that.
Absolutely not.
Like, we wanted you guys to give this game a little bit more depth, but we wanted you to tell the same fucking story.
Yeah.
Like, because it's good. And the thing is, it wasn't told that well the first time. But it's a good fucking story.
Yeah. Stop. I got a pizza in the oven. I'll be right back. Sorry. I feel like we had some good momentum there, and I didn't want to stop, but I didn't want to burn my pizza.
But and the third talking point that I hate is a lot of the people who are making the argument that there was too much Sephiroth in this game.
Yeah.
And they say that, like, hey, you know, the original game, you don't even really see Sephiroth until after Midgar. And then the response to that is like, well, this whole game is Midgar, so, like, you gotta have Sephiroth. It's like, no, you honestly, truly don't. Because, like, I think teasing him makes a lot of sense. Like show Sephiroth, like
Yeah.
get a glimpse of him in there because like he's iconic and like the true crazy fans like love Sephiroth. He's probably the most popular character in this game, honestly.
And maybe even the franchise. Like honestly, the
And
Final
maybe
Fantasy
and possibly
franchise.
the franchise, yeah. So like that's part of what informed them to think that they couldn't make Final Fantasy VII without Sephiroth. But I challenged them to think that the story is strong enough to exist without him. And in some ways, this story is weakened by forcing Sephiroth in there because the villain of this game is not Sephiroth; it's Shinra. We have
Yeah.
every reason to hate Shinra. We've built up all of these like you spend the whole game just piling on all these things. It's like, God, Shinra sucks. Fuck Shinra. And then like even you get like derailed and you're going after Don Corneo a little bit, and then you just keep coming back to yeah, but Shinra. It's still just Shinra. Fuck
Yeah.
Shinra.
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, you want to fucking fight Shinra. But it's like, no, now we're fighting Sephiroth. And like all we really see of Sephiroth is obviously he's like taunting Cloud throughout the story. But all he really does is like he kills the president, which like in the original game, like Barrett was like, woohoo, he's on our side.
Yeah.
And then Cloud and Tifa were like, no, 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 no,
No.
no, no, no. Like we need to go somewhere and we need to talk about this
Yeah.
because like
We
that's
need to
not
figure
what's
this
going on
out.
here.
Yeah.
And like Cloud and Tifa basically explained to the rest of the party, which is like Barrett and Red 13 and Aerith, who is kind of in that same boat of like, you know, Sephiroth kind of seems like he's doing the right thing here.
Yeah.
And
And even
the,
even up till the end, like just off the top of my head, I don't think there was any moment where they definitively said, yes, Sephiroth is here and he's not just in Cloud's head. Because most, I think up until that end,
no,
it
it
could
was
have
this
just been
weird
teased that it was just Cloud's just crazy and it's in his
and
head.
it was this weird moment that when it did transition from being in Cloud's head to being something everyone can see, like they never like have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Like they're just running around and they're like, oh, by the way, Sephiroth's here, and apparently that's just normal. Because like even after there's that big scene with him and Cloud in front of the Genova thing and they all get blasted away and they all reunite, they're more concerned about like getting out of Hojo's lab and no one's talking about, oh, by the way, like is Sephiroth here?
Yeah.
Like did we just see Sephiroth up there and then he just
And
like
even
what's going on?
even like when Palmer saw him, like yes, he could have been there, but like and like it could have just been that was actual Sephiroth, and then Cloud was still just crazy. It was kind of two separate things, but
And
then
it's
at the end
extra
you realize it's all
confusing
just
because I forget where I heard this, but there's like 4 Sephiroths in the remake. There's time travel Sephiroth, who's like the final boss Sephiroth.
hmm
There's memory Sephiroth, which is like the Sephiroth that exists very briefly in a few flashbacks. There's like Cloud Psyche Sephiroth, who is a manifestation of his own like insecurities, who's taunting him through most of the game. And then there is like the Genova actual canon in the original game Sephiroth that is a fake Sephiroth like illusion created by Genova of the clones that are going around.
yeah.
And at a moment, they even did a good job of kind of like hinting and seeding that better than they even did it in the original game.
hmm
Because when you're at the top of Shinra Tower, like the Sephiroth and Genova kind of turn back into the clone guys.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, good. They're like setting this up so it makes more sense when the payoff happens down the road.
hmm
But then that was all obscured by the fact that, oh yeah, Sephiroth is also physically here because he time traveled.
Yeah.
So it's very confused and muddled what aspects of Sephiroth are in because now people are explaining that like because Sephiroth distracted Cloud in chapter 2, that's why the Whispers had to like swarm around Aerith to hold her there because the time it took him to get there was longer because Sephiroth drew him down that alleyway. And so Sephiroth was fucking with the time there, and so the Whispers had to come in and like put Aerith where Cloud would still meet her, even though he wasn't moving through that street at the same time he originally was.
Yeah.
But the problem with that line of thinking isn't that Sephiroth just the Cloud imagining Sephiroth? Because he disappears. And then Cloud looks around and nothing's on fire anymore. And so, like, you're really strongly led to believe that that Sephiroth is just in Cloud's head. But then people are theorizing that Sephiroth was the first Sephiroth that fucked up the timeline.
Yeah.
And so is the Sephiroth in Cloud's head even time-traveling Sephiroth? Or working with time? Like,
Yeah,
it's just so fucking convoluted now. And it's
Yeah.
like, why is there 4 Sephiroths? There shouldn't even be 1!
Yeah.
It sucks, dude.
I don't
Fuck
know.
level 4. I hate level 4.
Yeah. Oh man. I wish I had Max Dude's like optimism.
I do too, because I love Max. I think he's great.
Yeah, I do.
And I really think he is a great like face of the fandom.
Yeah.
And I wish I wish he was just a little harder on him.
Yeah.
I wish he held him a little more to account, because he knows they're watching him.
Yeah. He knows that. They've told him that they're watching him.
If he comes out and says like, "Hey guys, like I'm really worried about where you're going with this." Like he has a unique ability to save this franchise.
Yeah. And like with him, it's okay, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, you're
Probably
fine.
talked too much there.
No, you're good. Oh, right. So like, but everything he likes about that ending is the possibilities where it could go. Yeah. Which is the reason he likes it.
Yeah, but he's being optimistic. He's assuming they're going to do it right. Which we have a lot of evidence to suggest that they're bringing a very competent skill set and mindset to this game.
Yeah,
because most of it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, and I guess maybe you could say the same thing about us. Like and that's why I did kind of come back around, because we don't know if it's going to be good or not in the future. You know, we are maybe we are being a bit too hard, and Maximilian's not being hard enough.
I think they earned the benefit of the doubt with most of this game.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like, now I'm not gonna say I really like or I really dislike it, because we just don't know.
Yeah.
You know, there's potential there. There's definitely potential there.
I categorically hate alternate timelines.
Yeah.
So I mean,
if that's where they're going, for sure, I'm not gonna be happy about that.
I don't like, but they've written themselves into this trap where, like, would I love to move into the next game and just say like, that last ending doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
We just wanted to show you Zach real quick. We're not gonna follow up on that. Like, that's the best Final Fantasy VII like remake part 2.
Yeah.
It's just keep going, do the same old thing. Don't really dwell on all that Zack shit, because like I'm already overwhelmed at the thought of like, because my concern is, and I'm a little bit, when everyone else like cringes at like how many parts they're trying to turn this into, I'm like, thank God. Like, make this game 11 parts if you have to, because I want Junon to feel as full as Midgard did.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see that Cosmo Canyon's getting this love too. I want to be able to just pour hours of my life into Gold Saucer. Like, and I want this all to be fulfilling. I want this to feel like it has the same weight as it did in the original game. And in the original game, Midgard definitely was the most fleshed out setting you spent time in.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of them. There were a lot of places that just felt like there was so much depth to them, and there was so much under the surface that could be explored a little bit more. And I want all those places to get that same treatment.
Yeah.
But I'm already worried about, like, how are you going to have time to make this whole game like this
Yeah.
good. And that was before I thought like, oh, and now we're gonna have to tell two different stories and two different timelines.
Yeah. And like
And
one of the things that worries me, and I generally I agree with you. Like I think they should take as much time as they need to and as many games as they need to do this right. But the only thing I'm afraid of is if the next game they take a little bit more liberties, and like we still need to have a full game with a twist at the end. And then the third game they go a little bit farther and they're like, well, we need to
and
twist it a little bit more. And then by the end, the last game is going to be completely unrecognizable from the original.
and more egregious than that is not egregious, but the inevitable consequence of that is the next game veers a little bit further off of the Final Fantasy VII path, and it is a little even more divisive. And you're really zoning in on the like the Nomura stands and the people who are just here for fucking whatever kind of anime bullshit is there, and you're really alienating the wider audience. And then that next game has an even lower budget. And then by the
Yeah.
time we're at game 5, these games are no longer good because there's no investment from the larger Square Enix like corporate entity in being like, Final Fantasy VII is a cash cow. Here's your blank check. Fucking make this happen.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
kind of what they have right now.
Yeah.
Like I would assume. It seems like that's what they have. It seems like they got a lot of resources to make this game happen, and they had a lot of patience and a lot of like the company just being like, "Listen, we know this is gold. Make it good. Do whatever you have to do to make it good."
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Like I
Oh yeah.
love that they have that.
Like
But they could
how
fuck this up.
rare is that? Like
Yeah.
most games never get anything like that.
But if they fuck this up by, following this up with Final Fantasy VII Redreamed 3.0 drop distance, and then like everyone thinks like, is this the next game? I'm confused. Like what's
Yeah.
going on? And like no, people don't buy it, or they bring it out on some, or they depend it on like, because the other thing Square Enix loves to do is throw in weird side games on
Yeah.
consoles that most people don't have, and then like bringing you back to the mainline story and being like, yeah, you had to play all the weird shit
Yeah.
because like you're not following this plot unless you went out and bought everything Sony's ever released.
Yeah. And
And
yeah, I
like,
don't want mainline games and spin-off games.
no,
It all
I
needs
don't.
to be mainline.
Yeah. Even though I was in my spiral, I was thinking of something that would be really fucking dope is if they had like an RTS mobile game for not Gold Saucer, Fort Condor.
Yeah.
And
I think
in
that
the
would be cool.
years, in between years, between part 1 and part 2, we get to play this little mobile game where we're building up Fort Condor, and you link it to your account so that when you go to Fort Condor, it looks like the way you built it in your mobile game.
That's something I have always wanted from a game. With like Fallout's got this game, and their mobile
Yeah.
game is like one of the biggest mobile games of all time. But I don't think it really ties in to your Fallout playthroughs. Like
In
that's
Kingdom
something
Hearts
I've
3
always wanted.
tried to like pay off the mobile game by like making it canon story, and then
Yeah.
they did that list of names at that one scene.
Yeah, but my name
And
wasn't in
like,
it, so fuck that game.
yeah, fuck that game. But fuck that game for a million reasons.
Yeah.
But like
And oh my god, fucking
but that shows that they want to do that. They want to be like, hey guys, come play our mobile game and we will reward you
Yeah.
for it with like
Yeah.
Easter eggs in the main game. And it's like, that would be a way, it doesn't detract at all. Like, all you can possibly do is get more backstory on Fort Condor. And then you get to Fort Condor, and if you dumped a bunch of hours into this stupid mobile game, then you get this like built up Fort Condor
Yeah.
that has HD graphics, and you've got mage towers over here, and it's
Yeah.
wherever you put it on your own little customizable mountain.
And I'd be
And,
happy to
like,
pour money into that game. I would.
fuck yeah. Like, and that would be fun. And it would be like, you can go limit things, and then like it would be fun if like in the game, like you get notifications like from your phone that it's like you're under attack, and then
Yeah.
while in the game
Yeah.
that's actually the story going on,
That'd be
because
cool.
they've linked the stuff
Yeah.
and they've got the technology to do that kind of
Oh
shit.
yeah.
So like,
The the
run wild.
the
We know
biggest.
you love mobile games,
Oh
Square, so
yeah.
just fucking do
Those are
it.
the money makers. Like everybody knows that. Like
Yeah,
the biggest missed opportunity of that is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Cuz they
yeah.
basically have a mobile game built into that, and they had an app, but the app was not the mobile game that was in the game. It was like that is such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
It had the microtransactions and everything. It was like, just make this an app and then have it linked to the game. I would have loved that.
No, I know. Yeah.
But yeah,
And
having
I
something
think
like that in Final Fantasy VII Remake,
they have an opportunity to do that, and it
and,
could be cool. And
and
I
they
wouldn't
have an
hate it.
opportunity to keep it going for years, and they can keep adding updates and progress with your
And
game.
instead of having to double back to Fort Condor every fucking story beat, you just like you keep playing on your mobile game
Yeah,
and it's connected to your larger story, so that like people who care about that shit can keep doing it. But if people who just want to play Final Fantasy VII and not fuck around at Fort Condor,
yeah,
like they can ignore it.
completely optional. Yeah,
Yeah. I think that I don't know, that makes sense to me.
and
Um
like that'd be cool if that'd be the only way you could get Phoenix materia or something.
yeah, like you get the
Like they
Phoenix
have an
summon if you actually complete like the storyline in the mobile game
yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
How cool would that be?
That would be cool. Even though it'd suck to like
Yeah,
not
but
get
but
Phoenix
the thing is,
material.
I didn't get the. I bought the deluxe edition pre-order physical copy,
Mm,
so I
yeah, me
didn't
too.
get. But did you get Carbuncle?
I don't know because honestly I never installed any of that
Oh,
DLC
well, I
because
think.
I didn't realize really how to do it, and then I
Oh
saw
yeah,
it in a menu later and I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
But I
But I've
think,
already beaten the game twice.
yeah, I think Carbuncle was only on the
Was
digital
the
deluxe download.
only the digital
So
deluxe download?
I
Okay.
didn't get them. I don't get them. That kind of sucks. Which I'd pay like
Carbuncle was
a couple
weird
extra
looking.
bucks.
Did you see the pictures of Carbuncle? That
Yeah,
giant ass forehead.
you look like the Elephant Man or something.
Yeah. Was is the Cactuar fun, or like what does it even do?
Not much, honestly. I
No.
used him a couple times and he didn't really like do much.
So the big theory that has been floating around the internet, about how power scaling is going to work into the next game, because they're going to have to sort of to some extent
Yeah,
reset your character. And I'm sure you've heard of this, but the idea that Yuffie's going to steal all your materia
yeah.
and like going into the next game.
I like that idea. I like that they add that to the story in a pretty natural way.
I
Of course, I mean, we don't know if they're going to do that or not, but I
I
think that would be cool.
I I like it in a way, but I also think it's going to be really annoying when I don't know. I mean, to some extent, I think everybody is going to be reasonable enough to write it off as like you have to do this because you can't go into a brand new game like OP as fuck. But like,
Yeah.
it's going to be kind of irritating when like you get Yuffie and then you don't get your materia back.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
that's kind of what I was talking about with like some of the monsters that like were in the later game that they just
yeah,
brought into Midgar. Like I kind of wish they had just scaled
you
everything back a little bit.
you see,
Like,
I kind of disagree with you there a little bit, because I think if there's one aspect of like late game Final Fantasy that I am okay with you like teasing forward, just to sort of like hint at like this is where it's going. It's like I'm not opposed to seeing late game enemies appear much earlier, just to kind of like just to kind of indicate that there are much more fantastical elements to come. Because like what I love about Final Fantasy VII specifically is that it starts out very much not your typical fantasy. Like it's very steampunk, like cyberpunk kind of dystopian,
yeah.
like you're fighting mostly robots and like some genetic mutations, but like you're not really like it's not the typical fantasy shit.
Yeah.
Like it's very much a different kind of story, and the transition you get to the typical fantasy shit.
And
Like by
even
the
with
end
like
of
materia, like there's a reason for magic. Like people aren't just magic. Like you have to have
right.
materia. Like they kind of
And
rein
and in the
in.
original game, it was super rare that people understood how to use materia. Like Cloud had to basically teach Avalanche
Yeah.
like this is how materia works.
Yeah.
And like they were like, I don't know if I get it, and it's like, we'll just try it. And
Yeah.
then like you kind of could put it on other people. In this game, it seems like anybody can use materia.
Yeah.
Like,
If you've got it, you can use it.
yeah, and
But
that's I don't really care that much about that. It's not
yeah,
that important.
no.
But
Something I was really looking forward to though was having one continuous save throughout all the games. And like when you are just like super OP and by the end like Barrett's already got 9999 HP and it's like
yeah,
yeah, then they're going to have to rein that back in and I was kind of hoping
yeah,
for just one continuous story kind of from what I've never played Mass Effect, but from what I understand that's how Mass Effect kind of works. Like
yeah.
it is one continuous save, it's one continuous story throughout. And I was really looking forward to that. But
Well,
and there
the
might be some of that, especially with like the
the idea
PlayStation
that
5,
they
they've
cap you at level 50 sort of almost teases this notion that like the rest of the leveling up is in other games.
yeah.
But then I also think like am I gonna attack like am I gonna hit the mithril mines at level 50
Yeah.
with like
Is it just going to be
Firaga?
Dragon Ball Z where the numbers just keep going higher and higher and higher and higher?
Yeah.
I
And the
don't I don't think
power,
that's how it's
I
going to
think
be.
the power scaling is going to just be out of control unless they figure out some way to reset it. But then
Yeah, they do
it's gonna
now.
be
They have
really
to.
hard. It's going to be really hard to work that into the story. Like I'm already like at the point where I have issues with like what the characters can do because like that whole fucking sewer segment where you like come up to that platform and you look across and you're like, oh, we got to get to the other side. Let's just go like all the way around. And you spend an hour like going up and down the sewers. And it's like, you bitches are jumping off of buildings. Why can you not just hop
Yeah.
over there?
Yeah.
Like Cloud and Tifa can leap unbelievably high and land
And
on their feet.
they make such an like a point of that when the reactors are blowing up. Like Cloud does that cool jump and like
Yeah.
him and Jesse talk about it and
It's like, is it just because Aerith is here and you don't think she can make the jump that we all have to run around?
yeah.
But like,
But they act like they can't.
yeah, and there's just a lot of
I get that's
moments
just
where
like
you're
a weird like it I get
and the game
but
is full of obstacles that based on what you know the characters can do, they don't make any fucking sense.
yeah.
And that to me the solution is taking away the Advent Children shit. But I recognize that people love the Advent Children shit. So like if they do everything
I
else right, I will forgive it.
I did have a theory. It's just a little thing, but
Yeah.
like, so when, like the guy who the other, he's not a soldier, but he's like a Shinra grunt. That the one who's like, oh, it's you. I'm gonna go find Kunsel. Uh, and like you run into him like at the beginning of like when you're.
Do you think that's the guy at the beginning that says, "Wait, is that?"
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think that's the
But you
same
see,
guy.
that doesn't make sense to me because wouldn't he immediately see Cloud and be like, "Weren't we trying to kill you in Sector 8?" Like, why wouldn't
Yeah,
he
but I
connect
think that
that?
was kind of hinted. I mean, I guess they didn't really
But
say
he
that,
seemed
but
happy to see him, and if the last time he saw him, it was because he was a suspect for blowing up the reactor, why would his reaction to him at that point be,
I don't think at the
"Hey,
beginning
Cloud, buddy"?
I don't think at the beginning he was like upset or like trying to get him. I know it was like his job, but like but that's where his hesitation was. He was like, "Wait a second." Like he was kind of like, "Wait, guys, like I know this guy, like don't attack him." But he jumped off and he was gone, so like he
Okay,
didn't really get a
maybe.
chance.
It just seems a little weird because like I also think that like even if let's say that he personally didn't feel like they should be fighting Cloud, like wouldn't he after the last time he saw Cloud, the next time he sees Cloud, he is armed in Shinra HQ, and his reaction is like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get Kunsel."
Yeah, I get what you're
Like,
saying. I get
it's a
what you're saying.
little weird. Like,
It
there's
is.
something just like inconsistent.
But my thought is, so when you go to Nibelheim, it's Sephiroth, Zack, you, and some other soldier, some other
But
Shinra.
that other soldier dies,
Oh, he
right?
does die?
Yeah, because they lose him when the bridge collapses.
I guess. But I just thought that'd be cool if that was him.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
no.
that's something they could easily retcon.
They could. They would, and they do. I mean,
Yeah.
they retcon shit all the time,
Yeah.
so they might. Do you think that was the guy that Cloud threw the sword at, like at the very end, with
Yeah,
the window?
that's an interesting theory I've heard. Yeah, I'm sure. I like that.
Why not?
Let's make it true. Yeah. In my mind, I like
Yeah.
it. I don't need confirmation of anything. It's just, yeah,
One thing I
I choose
thought
to believe it.
initially with the first time you see that guy is that the first guy who goes, I think the line is actually, I know that, and then he gets interrupted.
Okay. Yeah.
I initially thought maybe he was about to say, I know that sword.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. So he knew Zack.
Like he knew Zack, or he knew Angeal, or he knew
Yeah.
somebody.
I mean, he still could. I mean, that's easy enough to, like, he can know Cloud and Zack and Angeal.
Yeah. No, yeah, I want to see more of that guy. I want to
Yeah. That's
I think
something.
we'll see more of that guy. I wonder if that guy will be one of the guys, a little connected to what you're talking about, but a little different. I wonder if that guy might be one of the guys that you do the like victory poses and shit with for Rufus's parade.
Yeah. That'd be
I'm
cool.
so excited about the parade. I think
Yeah.
like after seeing how they did Wall Market, I think the parade is gonna be a fucking blast.
Oh, yeah. That's
Like
going to be
I think it's
a
gonna be
big
so
old
much fun.
celebration fanfare. Like, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. It's gonna be super high production value. We're gonna see everybody. It's gonna be like a musical.
Yeah.
And Nomura loves musicals.
Yeah.
So like and so to give credit where credit's due, Nomura probably ruined this ending. He is also very likely the reason why the Honeybee Inn is as magical as it is.
Yeah.
Like that is so Nomura. Everything that happens in there. Like so like the guy has his fucking strengths. Like there are some things that he's just really really good at, and he's good at fight choreography. He's good at dances apparently.
Yeah.
He's good at just like making pretty things look even more pretty than you think they would.
Yeah.
And he's terrible at
Like,
plotting
I'm sure he was
a
probably the
story.
main driver behind the parade in 8. Like, with Sorceress Edia that I love so
Yeah,
much.
very likely. I mean, eight was the game in the Final Fantasy series where they were like, "This Nomura kid, he's something.
Yeah.
Like, we need to just let him do whatever the fuck he wants."
Yeah.
And they gave him, and Sakaguchi actually had very little to do with eight. Like he was
Oh, yeah.
working on, I think, the Spirits Within when eight was being developed.
Hmm.
And so the guy who was like, that was the first Final Fantasy that he like handed off to somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was Katase that he actually handed off like the director and executive producer role to. I think he still executive produced it, but I think he like really let Katase run it, and I think Nomura, that's when he became like involved in like the story writing and planning and scenario development and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
Sakaguchi came back for Final Fantasy IX, and he was like, "All right, this is perfect. This is the perfect Final Fantasy. I quit." And he's right. I mean,
It sucks that, like, partly because I think it's there's not a English port or an English translation, but like there's not really anything Sakaguchi has done that we can play anymore. Like, since Final Fantasy,
I
like,
think Lost Odyssey, right?
he's got a couple of games. Like, I looked him up, but like
Yeah.
you can't really, like,
Lost Odyssey is supposedly really good.
but like, can you get it anywhere? Unless
I
you
don't
like
know.
buy like a Dreamcast or something, whatever it was
I think it's
originally
an
on
Xbox game. No, it's
Xbox.
Xbox 360. Fuck that. Why are you doing this, Sakaguchi? Dude, just stay on Sony.
Yeah.
Or at least go
But
to
even then, like, you'd
PC,
still have to
wherever you
find an
can play.
Xbox 3, or I guess Xbox 360. Is
Xbox
that the current
360s are
gen?
pretty common. Yeah.
I'm
No, Xbox One.
Xbox
Right?
One's the new one. Xbox, and then Xbox 360, and then Xbox One.
Of course,
I
you name something one when it's the sequel to something
right.
else.
PlayStation's so
Fuck
easy.
Microsoft. I
PlayStation,
hate Microsoft.
PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. God, I love you, Sony. Make my life easy.
They'll never change.
Yeah.
Except your password policy. Fuck you for that.
Did you lose your PlayStation Network password or something?
No, it's just I just had to change it because I forget why I had to change it. They made me change it.
No.
And it's ridiculous. Like I've never had more like obscure rules for making a password than your Sony account. I literally
Really?
have it written down and taped to my PlayStation.
Nice. I've never had to change
I
my
will
Sony
never
password,
remember it
so
any other way.
yeah. But yeah, I would love to play a Sakaguchi game again. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like they're just so inaccessible.
So, yeah.
And I know he's got like some mobile games out, but I think
wish
they're
I could.
mostly Japanese.
You know what Square needs to do? They need to create some kind of thing, some kind of bundle that they port Final Fantasy Tactics and Chrono Trigger. So I want to fucking play those games on PS4 or
Yeah.
PS5.
Yeah.
I haven't played Chrono Trigger in forever, and I've never played Final Fantasy Tactics.
I've never
and
played Final
people
Fantasy.
say
Yeah.
it's the best
They
one.
love it. Same here. I want to play that so bad,
Yeah.
especially lately. I've been really into like XCOM and John Wick X and like those type of games. So, I mean, a Final Fantasy version of that, I'm all in.
People say that Final Fantasy Tactics is story-wise the best Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Man.
And I've never played it.
And you can get every Final Fantasy game on every console, on every system, but not Tactics.
Not Tactics and not Chrono Trigger. Even though it's also largely regarded to be like the masterpiece of that era of Squaresoft.
Yeah, what was that? Chrono Cross. I've never played Chrono Cross either.
Chrono Cross, yep. I've never played Chrono Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see them kind of just go back, and I don't even need them to
Is
do
Chrono
anything.
Trigger
Just
not?
fucking port it. Just port it.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain you cannot play Chrono Trigger on anything but a PlayStation 1 or the original PlayStation. There might be a PC port actually.
There is a PC port. Yeah, I know you can get it on Steam because it's been on my wish list forever.
Shit. Maybe I should just get it on Steam then.
Yeah, because
it's
they're
never the same.
so well
It's
known
not...
for. You can play it. Apparently, you can play it on PS3, PS1 Classic. You can play it on PS Vita, PSP, or PS3.
Is it worth it getting a PSP?
At this point, probably not, because they're not making any new games for it.
No, I know they're not making any new games for it, but I really want to just play Crisis Core, and they refuse to port that anywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're super cheap now. So, if you'd want to, I'm sure it'd be worth it. Like, I love playing Crisis Core when I played it back in the day.
That's
and honestly, dude, Peace Walker's fucking amazing. Like, it's hard to play because it's on a PSP, but the story's fantastic.
Maybe just for Peace Walker, Crisis Core, and fucking Chrono Trigger port.
Yeah.
I should just go buy a PSP for probably the $65 it's worth now.
Honestly, you could probably get the system and the games all for that.
Really?
Yeah. Like when I bought mine, God, this was probably like 10 years ago. When I bought mine, it was $100, and it came with Birth by Sleep. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Birth by Sleep fan, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
But I think maybe had I played it like on PSP when it first came out and had that intimate like handheld experience with it, it would have been a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because I imagine it was very revolutionary for like a handheld.
Oh, it was amazing watching it like on a handheld device. It was like, this is amazing. You know, it was like 3D world, and like, I mean, it was
yeah.
I mean, it was like as good as Kingdom Hearts.
It
like
checks your expectations a little bit because you're just impressed to see a game as good as like a mainline PlayStation game.
Yeah, but now I mean, you get mobile games that look twice as good, and you're not gonna have that same wow factor.
But yeah, and having only played Birth by Sleep as like part of a bundle, it it just didn't.
Yeah.
It was just a part of the Kingdom Hearts anthology that was just to me
Yeah.
a bullshit complication of what should have
Yeah.
been like a very simple story.
Yeah. I loved playing it on PS4 because I did have that nostalgia, but it also wasn't uncomfortable to play with an actual PlayStation 4 controller. So
Yeah,
it was, for me, it was the best of both worlds.
sure. No, I get it. Um, I'm just kind of looking over our notes here to see if there's anything we didn't like
Yeah, one thing
hit.
I've been thinking about probably the most, except for the ending, was just the people of Midgar. I
Yeah,
love them so much. Like character
there's
models,
some
whatever,
really
but
good lines.
like, and I love. There's something I just thought about in the last couple of days. Sorry, give me a second.
Yeah.
The reactor bombing affected mostly the upper plate. The plate fall, in theory, affected more of the slums. So it was really interesting going through the the city, the upper plate after the first bombing, and hearing the people and like, there's people who hate, they blame it on the poor and they blame it on Shinra, and then there's people who like look up to Shinra and like are
Ready for
relying
Shinra
on
to come and
Shinra.
fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, who for like emergency
And
services
interesting
and
that you get the paramedics, the
yeah,
Shinra paramedics, and you're
yeah,
like, these guys aren't evil.
yeah. They're
Like,
they're
yeah,
helping these people through
right.
this terrible time and through this crisis, and then like
Or
you
not
know
paramedics. What's the word?
EMTs.
DMTs. EMTs, yeah.
They could have been
DMT.
paramedics.
Yeah. They might have parachuted in. But go,
um,
sorry, go actually.
and then like after the plate fall, you get like the slums, and they're blaming, oh, this is the richest fault, and this is I mean, of course they're still like blaming Avalanche, and they're kind of blaming Shinra,
Yeah, because a
and
fucking Kyrie.
yeah, but it was just so interesting seeing all these perspectives, because like, I mean, shit, we're going through Corona right now. Like, there are people who are blaming the government, but there are also people who are like relying on the government, and
There's
and
never a solid
yeah,
narrative.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was just, that was so well done, and I love
Oh yeah,
seeing,
I
and
mean,
there you could see the class struggle in that as well, you know, where you would think that after, in these times of crisis, people come together, and maybe they do a little bit, but
no.
after a week or
Communities
two,
come together, but people as a
yeah,
whole do not come together in a time of
yeah,
crisis.
yeah, and that
Um,
was just done so well.
it was. I mean, the whole like the deeper exploration into like the nature of what Avalanche is doing, they just knocked out of the park.
Yeah,
Like they as much as I was initially critical of the whole change to make like Shinra like we're gonna blow up our own reactor, which I still think is a little bit dumb, but like they made it work.
yeah,
And they almost made like Jessie more tragic because she just dies thinking that she's killed all these people and
yeah.
she really didn't. Like and she takes that with her to her grave. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I
the
remember
guilt.
thinking that as I was playing it, and like, I wanted to say that because, but I was streaming it and I didn't want like to spoil it, because there's a bunch of people in my chat who didn't know the
Yeah.
story, and it was just like, God, she's gonna die thinking that, and I
Because
like,
even
I
in the
felt
original
so
game,
bad for
those
her.
are her dying words. She's like, "I guess this
Yeah,
is what we deserve for all the people
yeah,
we killed."
yeah,
And like, I think Jesse's death in the original was a lot sadder, but there wasn't stupid fucking music in the background for that one, so
yeah.
it helped. I hated Jesse's death. I think it was one of the places where this game dropped the ball the most.
You think?
Um, oh yeah, I felt nothing when she died.
Yeah,
I thought Big's death was slightly sadder, but it went on for too long. Like he had that moment where he was like, "Hey, carry on the fight for me," and Cloud's like, "You have the choice to be like either what about you or like I will." And I think the first time I said I will,
yeah,
and like and Biggs is like you're a good man like for giving me that comfort. and then his hand kind of drops.
Yeah.
I thought, God damn, that was like a good way to finish this character. And then he's like, "Oh, the children in Sector
Yeah.
5, go take care of them for me." It's like, "Do you like kids, Cloud?" And Cloud's like, "Eh." He's
Yeah.
like, "Ah, well, you're kind of like a kid." And it's like, why is this conversation still going?
That's
Like,
just this game. It's just like they don't know when to stop. Like, you nailed it. Just cut
and
it off.
Jesse,
You did it.
Jesse took that to fucking 11. She just wouldn't shut up. She just kept fucking going, and I'm like, Jesse, die. And then you have this music in the background that, like, you can kind of tell is a more melodramatic version of, like, I think it's a more melodramatic version of, like, the music they played when you went to her, like, childhood home. Maybe not. I don't know. I might be completely off base on that. But, like, it was just so bad. It was just this, like, strings, like, fucking, like, the most cheesy possible, like, sad music, like, almost like a meme sad music that you would play behind somebody when they're complaining about their life just to make them look ridiculous. And, like,
and it was like
this
when Jim Carrey's in the mask and he's dying and it's like over back like that, you would play it then.
Yeah. And it felt like they did that, like, unironically, and I'm just like, you guys did such a good job of building Jessie up to make us love her so much and care so much, and then you ruined her death. You just made it so cheesy, and you made her just talk too much, and I just felt like, all right, Jessie's dead. Like, I felt so little through the whole plate sequence.
Yeah.
And then when they collapsed the plate, and then that it just felt very unceremonious. They couldn't even bother to orchestrate the escape from Sector 7. And it's just like, why? Like, why wouldn't you put in,
like, these are the moments that they should be hitting the hardest.
Yeah. To, like, make this a little bit better. It just seemed like you got to this point and you just rushed through it.
Yeah.
And then you threw Kate Sith in there. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Like, one, even knowing the context, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, what did Reeve think he was going to do by activating Kate Sith and sending him to, like, hold the plate up or something? Like, what was his plan?
Yeah. I don't know. So, and that's, I still don't, I guess I don't understand exactly how Kate Sith works. Is Kate Sith just a robot cat?
Yeah.
And, like, Reeve's just, like, controlling him with the fucking joystick or something. Like, maybe he's got some AI or something built in, but
I like to think he's in one of those, like, Shulk machines from, like, Dirge Cerberus, where she, like, climbs into that fucking bed and she puts the thing on, and, like, Reeve's like,
they
Kate Sith.
Go into the Matrix, and
It's I want to believe it's gonna be something sort of like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then what is Mog too? Like, because Mog seems like even a farther level detached from, like, Kate Sith. Like, say Kate Sith controls Mog.
Yeah.
And Reeve controls Kate Sith.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea.
I hope they figure that stuff out in a way that, like, kind of makes sense.
Just throw in a couple lines to explain it all.
Or, you know what I would like to do?
What?
I would like to rework the whole the suspense of Kate Sith being a spy. I want to do more of a dramatic irony thing than a, like, actual, like, mystery, because, like, in the original game, it's like you get Kate Sith in the party, and the next place you visit, they're like, oh, there's a spy. It's like, I wonder who it is. I mean, do you think it's Barrett or Red 13, or do you think it's the fucking animatronic that just joined your party and against your will? Like,
and who stole the black materia from you and gave it to Shinra, and then afterwards
but this is even before all that shit happened. Like, you overhear the Turks saying that they've got a spy in your party, and then Cloud's like, I hate to think that anyone would be a spy. And it's like, it's the fucking robot that just joined you. Like, and then he betrays you, and it's like, well, yeah, duh. Like, he was the spy. Like, and let's not even go with that pretense. Let's introduce Kate Sith from the perspective of Reeve. Let's see that he's a spy. Let's know that. And then, like, you can behave in the party knowing as a player that he's the spy.
Yeah.
But the party never knows. The party never gets that, like, overhearing a conversation. So, like, you can kind of make decisions in the game in the way you treat Kate Sith. Are you going to treat him like a spy, or are you going to treat him like, he's just a nice member of the party?
Yeah.
And and I don't even fuck with trying to throw us off because it's not working.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. That'd be better. Better way to handle it.
But I want Sid earlier. Like, that's a big thing that I think, like, could be really cool.
Yeah.
Like, the story could only
It's,
benefit from more Sid.
oh yeah. I don't know how. I mean, I guess we just don't know when they're going to introduce, I mean, any of the remaining characters. And that would be, but the thing is, like, the next trailer, they're going to tease it. You know, they're probably going to tease Vincent or Yuffie in the next trailer for the next game. I'm guessing.
Um, another thought I had is that, like, if you do get an alternate version, because I kind of thought it'd be cool if, like, the alternate version of you can almost do like a butterfly effect type of thing with, like, Zack, and, like, when he goes in, like, and he goes to Midgar, and, like, he meets up with Aerith, and maybe you get a quest where you have to, like, take Cloud back to Sector 7 and Seventh Heaven because Zack figures out that Tifa's there, and he's like, well, I
Yeah.
should at least, get Cloud to Tifa, and then maybe he jumps on a motorcycle with Aerith and fucking leaves Midgar. And
Yeah.
they're just like, let's just run away. Let's just leave Midgar and let's go live our own life somewhere. And then all the horrible shit that happens to Midgar still happens to Midgar. But you're not fucking there, so it all goes as bad as it possibly could. And Cloud and Tifa and Aerith and Barrett and everybody's dead.
Yeah.
And, like, and then you have this alternate reality where Zack and Aerith are, like, and in a way, like, it serves to develop their relationship, so you care about them as a couple in a way that, like, the story is better if you do, if you really love those two together.
Yeah.
But then you get this whole side story that's just Zack and Aerith, and I think it would be cool if, because you've completely dismantled the, like, progression of stuff, maybe you don't necessarily get Sid early, but if you run into Sid and Junon in the alternate timeline, and just by circumstance you steal the Highwind then,
Yeah.
and so Zack, Aerith, and Sid take off in the Highwind, like, and that serves a couple purposes. You can still keep Sid in the same place in the story, but still teach the player how to play as him a little bit earlier, because you have him in these side stories, and so you're like, here's this character, and you're just thinking, like, who is this? And then maybe Kate Sith also joins your party much earlier,
Yeah.
because he helps you escape Midgar or something. I don't know. And so you're learning how to play these characters early in the game, even if they don't necessarily, because that is a thing that, like, I've been thinking about a lot ever since, like, I really looked at the way that, like, Red 13 was handled, because, like, they're setting themselves up for the same problem in the next game, in the way that, like, the people joining your party are so spread out, because you're not getting Sid and Vincent until, like, pretty close to where this next game would end.
Yeah. Yeah. Yuffie's gonna be pretty early in the next one, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I think they'll push Yuffie forward even more. Like, I think it makes sense for Yuffie to join pretty close to the start of the game.
Yeah. Probably like right after Calm. Or she could even like be in Calm for some reason. And like she could overhear the whole Sephiroth story and because she's trying to steal their
And that's
materia
yeah,
or
that was the
something.
way I did it. I had Yuffie in the party before you even get to Calm. I had to meet her, like, on the way there.
Oh yeah.
because I just feel like Yuffie's too important of a character to Final Fantasy VII to not be like around for the big shit.
Yeah. Something
But
I
she's also not. She's totally optional. So
yeah. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time is like do a like proper Vincent cosplay. And like this has given me a reason to do it. Like whether if he's in the next one or the one after, like I want to be streaming as Vincent.
So fun to play as.
Oh my god. And like, it's probably going to be a couple years till the next one comes out. So like I'm probably going to cut my hair
have time to get
once
that shit.
Yeah, once it gets long enough to donate, cut it off and then just start growing it all out again and, have my long hair so I can just use my hair, dye it black. Get some red contacts. Huh?
Does Vincent have long hair?
Yeah. He's got real long hair. It's like
yeah, that's right.
Down to here. Get some red contacts, I think the hardest thing, like getting like a red cloak could be fairly easy. He just wears like black underneath that, but like getting like a gold like gauntlet thing, claw, yeah. That's like the hardest thing. I'm like, and I haven't really looked into it. Like, there's probably some way to do it, but that's gonna be the hardest thing, I think. And then he's kind of got like the same thing for shoes.
I hope they do Vincent better, and the remake.
Yeah.
Than they have in any other Final Fantasy VII property.
Yeah, because there were some moments in Dirge of Cerberus where they went into his past, like some of the flashbacks and stuff that I really liked.
It's all. Have you revisited Dirge of Cerberus lately?
No, I haven't.
That game is trash.
Is it?
Like that is.
I mean, I remember thinking,
like,
yeah,
holy fuck! Like you have to suffer through those cutscenes.
Yeah,
like it is the worst. It is the absolute low point of Square Enix.
Really?
Is Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah,
absolutely. That game is garbage.
Yeah,
and like.
I remember even when it came out thinking like it wasn't like the gameplay was shit and like not enjoying it that much.
Yeah.
Like, of course, at the end it was cinematic as shit. Just like Advent Children was cinematic as shit at the end. But like everything leading up to it is.
Yuffie is so annoying in Dirge of Cerberus. Like maybe the most Square Enix character there ever was.
Yeah.
She's like, oh! And you're like, holy fuck! Somebody kill this fucking character. Like, it's awful. It's an awful game.
Yeah.
But
I think that's part of the reason I haven't gone back, because in the back of my mind, I know it's not.
Don't fucking bother. It's a truly terrible game.
Yeah.
But also like in replaying Final Fantasy VII post. I don't want to say post Dirge of Cerberus, but just in general. All the awesome shit about Vincent seems to be shit that like the fans have created.
Yeah.
Like Vincent textually is not that interesting. Like he's got the bare bones backstory that has the potential to be really good.
Yeah.
Like he's like in a weird way at the center of everything because Lucrezia is the center of everything.
Yeah.
And like
he was
if they
a
can
Turk
just
and
make,
like
there's
a lot that you can do with just the like drip of like story that they give you.
And when you in from Before Crisis, you get that like Vincent was like sort of Veld's mentor, and Veld was like Sang's mentor.
Yeah.
So like Vincent is like the OG Turk.
Yeah.
It's not just like he was a Turk. It's like he was the big Turk, like that like kind of made the Turks.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really like done justice in Dirge of Cerberus at all. That doesn't come across.
I don't remember thinking that at all. I remember thinking he was just another Turk.
Just like he was very respected in the Turks. Like he was one of the guys that really helped form like who they were. And that all comes from Before Crisis. And there are aspects of Before Crisis that are really, really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
Like and I kind of hope that like they pull some of the good stuff out of that and leave some of the bad. But in the original Final Fantasy VII, Vincent's kind of forgettable. Like it's like partially because he's an optional character, so they don't want to make him too much in the plot. But he's always just kind of like standing at the edge of the screen, just like saying something that's just sort of like
kind of bland,
not contributing much.
Yeah.
And I think this remake is an opportunity to fundamentally change that, because you can make Vincent big.
It's kind of been a good thing that they haven't, because even in Advent Children, he shows up for just like his badass moment, and then he's fucking out
But
of
even
there.
in Advent Children, there's an austerity to Vincent. Like when he shows up, Cloud almost submits to him. He's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
Vincent, like I
yeah,
respect you."
right,
And like Cloud doesn't treat really anyone the way he treats Vincent in Advent
yeah,
Children.
yeah,
And like that was the moment where like it became clear that the popularity of this character had taken over like the origin of the character.
yeah,
Because like people he was so fucking cool.
yeah,
Like people loved Vincent. And he's just badass. Like he's just a
yeah.
cool character. And like
And again, like a
they
lot of that is because of
translated that.
Nomura. Like he looks fucking cool as hell, and
Yep.
his limit break is awesome, and even if it's not like the best one to actually
It's
use and
not the most
play, he
functional limit
looks
break, but
cool as
it's
hell.
definitely the most cinematic limit break.
Yeah, yeah,
And it would be really fun in the remake, as long as they don't as long as God, the biggest thing, and the one game that I have not seen them pull anything from, and maybe I'm missing it, I have not seen them pull anything from Dirge of Cerberus, and I
yeah,
hope they keep it up.
yeah,
Because like there's really not that much good in Dirge of Cerberus.
yeah. But man, could you? How fun is it gonna be to play as Chaos?
Oh, it's gonna be
That's
amazing.
gonna be
But they need
fucking
to
nuts.
rework it because like
Oh yeah, you have to
Chaos
actually
was
be able
underwhelming. Yeah.
after you have to actually be able to control him, and not just like make him go crazy and let him do his own thing. I think it'd be so much fun to
Fuck, that might be cool too though.
maybe.
If you use Vincent's limit break, he just becomes super powered and it
He's
forces you into another
basically
part of
just
him.
like another summon, like,
Yeah.
and he just
You can
goes
turn
wild
Vincent
and
into a summon, essentially. That's what his limit break would be.
yeah, and then you could also call a summon, and you just have like, oh, that would be fucking
Chaos
wild.
and
Yeah,
oh man, that'd be cool as fuck.
yeah,
Yeah, there's so much potential, and like and I think they're gonna do a lot of cool things.
yeah,
Um so as frustrated as I am with the way they've kind of written themselves into some corners with the original plot, uh, I'm generally optimistic, and I think that like these games are going to continue to be very good. I think a brilliant thing they did with this ending is they have absolutely redefined the expectations. So rather than going in nitpicky and thinking like, oh well, I didn't like how, the snake was an optional fight in the original game, but now it's a required boss, and you're picking at that kind of shit.
yeah,
Now you're thinking like, I'm just grateful the snake's fucking there.
yeah,
Like I was so worried that like they would not have this part of the game in there because I thought they would change the story and go somewhere else. It's like I'm just happy to see Costa del Sol.
I
Like
guess,
we
yeah.
don't need Hojo on the beach with some fucking bikini
Bikini
chicks.
babes, yeah.
I hope they figure out a way to keep that in there
Yeah,
because it's fucking hilarious.
yeah.
But we are going to be grateful for the fact that we can even go to Costa del Sol now
Yeah.
because they have set us up to
That's some real silver lining shit, but
the
yeah.
worst. And so, like, when we get Final Fantasy VII at all, we're just grateful for it.
Yeah.
And that's really the mindset we should have going into it. And that's smart of them to kind of force us into that and be like, listen, we could just take you wherever we want.
Yeah.
But we're going to give you Final Fantasy VII because we know you want it. And it's not going to be like shot for shot the Final Fantasy VII that you remember. But it's going to be better. And as long as like that continues to be true, like it has been true in the first game, more power to them. I wish they could have
Yeah.
been more subtle about it, but
And even if they don't
I'm
like
trying to do.
real silver lining shit, like we at least got Midgar.
We at least got
We at
Midgar,
least
and we
got
are at
Midgar,
least
and it
gonna
was
have
so
another
good.
fucking game starring Cloud and Aerith and Tifa and Barrett.
Yeah.
And I'll watch them fucking play poker. I don't give a fuck. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
I love these characters so
And the
much.
dialogue was just
Yeah.
so much better than the original. Like
Oh yeah.
there were so many parts where I literally laughed out loud because of how good the writing was and how well the lines were delivered. So as long as they keep that up,
Yes, I
I'm
know.
gonna
Thank
keep
you.
playing
Nailed
them.
it. Moving on. One of
Yes.
the best lines
Yes.
ever.
That is definitely the line I laughed at the most in
Yeah.
my first playthrough.
That and God, what are some of the other ones? There are some really fucking good lines in this game
Yeah.
that I just remember thinking like, oh, that is
Well,
that
like
is
right.
way better than I expected.
Yeah. Well, right now, I think you and I are kind of doing the same thing. Which where are you on your playthrough now?
And hard?
Yeah.
I'm right before Airbuster.
Okay. Um. So I forget exactly where I am, but like I am doing like options that I wouldn't normally choose because I'm trying to get that Barrett scene in chapter
Just trying
14.
to. I think the key, honestly, and I hate to do this because I'm not. I don't think I'm. I think I'm gonna fail this on hard because I still want to just do hard to the best of my ability. I think the key is fucking off and skipping side quests
That's what
in
I'm doing. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking
in
too.
chapters 3 and 8.
That's yeah. Same
Just
here.
fucking don't do all that shit for Tifa and Aerith and don't build
That
those points.
and that's the thing. Like I was starting to do the side quests, and then I was like, wait a minute, but this is gonna be making Tifa happy, and it's gonna be making her like me more. So
Yeah,
I ended
so you
up
gotta fail.
went back
Yeah.
to my save and like did some of the stuff again. So I didn't do those side quests.
Yeah.
But like my point is like I'm just negging the shit out of the girls,
Hmm.
so they don't like
And
me as much. So
they're
I don't get there. Yeah,
some of the
some of their
dialogue options are even better. Like if you're a
yeah.
dick to Aerith at the beginning,
Yes,
it's
exactly.
so good.
So funny. Oh man. Yeah.
Like I really do think that Aerith is like one of the best parts of the game. It was disappointing to hear
Oh
that
yeah.
Danny really thought
Yeah.
she was awful
I was still kind of
because
confused as to why, because it seemed like it was just like a technical thing. Like he just didn't
yeah.
like how her like voice and her actual like mouth synced up, and it was like, man, I can look past that. Like that doesn't bother me.
I did think that her big speech at the end before you fight Destiny was just out of nowhere and really bad.
Oh yeah,
And like
yeah,
and I remember thinking like one like what the fuck is she talking about? Like where did she get all this knowledge? Where was this through the rest of the game? Like and everyone says that it seems like Aerith knows too much, but it doesn't really like
like not to that extent.
it
Where like at
doesn't
the
really
end,
come out until that scene with
yeah,
Marlene.
yeah. But there are
And then
like
you're
I get where
like
they're coming from because on my second playthrough I picked up on some of that stuff where she just like she kind of gives these looks where like it seems like she knows more than she's
she
letting
knows a little
on.
bit, but she always did. Like that was always Aerith. She was always kind of like one step ahead of the
Yeah.
rest of the party. And so like there's no reason to think anything weird there. But then there's the question of okay, so all right, so let's try to parse out what we think is actually going on because I really don't know. Like we got this like the general consensus is Sephiroth is time traveling, right?
Yeah.
But how? Like
Like
through the life
can he
stream
just
somehow?
do it? Like I
And
don't
like
know.
is he possessing an earlier form of himself the way
Yeah.
that Aerith seems to be? Or is he actually physically like traveling back in time? Because Aerith seems to just be inhabiting like her like consciousness seems to be inhabiting herself. And
Yeah.
like it seems like her consciousness is time traveling, but it's still just Aerith's body doing all the Aerith things. And she seems through most of the game respect the course of destiny. and think that like she knows bad things are going to happen and she lets them play out in the way that guarantees that they're going to happen. Like like if she is time traveling, she is absolutely culpable for every single person who died in Sector 7.
Yeah.
Because she knowingly stalls. Whereas Cloud and Tifa aren't 100% sure that like Sector 7 is actually going to collapse.
Yeah.
Even when they do learn, they still fuck around with ghosts for
Yeah.
another hour. But like Aerith knows. Like Aerith knows that like Shinra's planning to like drop a plate on Sector 7, but she's still like, "Hey Cloud, we should go to the end."
Yeah.
And like that's some heavy fucking shit if true.
Because it, with Cloud and his headaches and his flashbacks, like that's what they are. They're just kind of like these flashes, and he doesn't really understand them. But like you
And that's
don't
all
get that.
straight from the original game. Like they did
Yeah,
more of them,
yeah.
but that's all
But like
old
you don't
shit.
really seem to get that with Aerith. She's not like, she doesn't seem to
She
have
doesn't
these
seem to be
moments
like
where
coming
she's,
to memories.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then at the end
But
she
then
just
at the end she
knows.
just knows everything.
Yeah,
And it's implied kind of that maybe she always did, but was just waiting for the right time to reveal it. And then I just get exceptionally confused where she steps up and says like we need to oppose Sephiroth, and then immediately says, "Yeah, but let's do exactly the thing that Sephiroth just suggested we should do."
yeah,
Because Sephiroth is the one who decides, "Hey guys, let's go kill Destiny." And we're all like, "Yeah, let's go, gang."
yeah,
And it's like, "Why? Why did
yeah.
we do this? Why did we just
Like,
one after Sephiroth kills President Shinra, why is Barrett's immediate reaction to this guy he has no idea who he is? You bastard!
yeah,
Like, shouldn't Barrett be like, yeah, fuck yeah, who are you?
yeah, yeah.
But he's
Because they
immediately
have,
like in rage mode against Sephiroth for killing President Shinra.
yeah.
Like, why?
He
You
would
don't
have,
know who this is.
he would have been in like in the original.
This guy
Yeah, this guy's on our
saved your
side.
life from a gun that Barrett is apparently terrified of, forgetting that his arm is a gun. That was weird too, right?
He
That
forgot his.
President Shinra just pulls out a little pistol and Barrett's
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Whoa, man!
yeah.
Oh, I don't know."
Yeah, it's like, dude, your gun is a lot bigger and it's literally attached to you.
And it's inevitably faster because, like,
Yeah, yeah. It's literally like a hand to you.
and you've been set on fire by monsters. So, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this like
You've
9
been
millimeter
shot by
gonna
a
do to
bunch
you?
of robots.
Yeah, you've taken so many bullets just to get to this level of this building.
Yeah,
Like, there's no way you're afraid of this little gun.
yeah. But at the
But
same time,
story.
like you gotta take some
Yeah.
licenses and some
Right.
suspension
And
of
they
disbelief.
wanted to do something Hollywood and cinematic, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it. This scene
And
was pretty good. So
yeah, I mean, just that scene with like him and Barrett, like the president and
yeah.
Barrett was so good, and I was so happy that like with that how well they did that, and that was one thing that they changed. And I was like, I was expecting to get into that office and President Schindler just being dead at his desk.
It made me torn.
I went immediately to his desk to look for him. He's like, wait a minute, he's not here. What the fuck
Yeah.
is going on?
And I was torn
then
because I love that visual of President Shinra with the sword in
yeah,
his back.
just with
and
the
I
sword in
thought,
his
like,
back.
what? Why is he still alive? What the fuck is gonna happen here? And then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this
Yeah,
is good.
and they still
Like,
generally
this is good extra shit here.
yeah. And Barrett was so good in that scene.
It felt like Barrett got a full, complete arc in this game.
Yeah.
Like his story, and that's why him dying there almost made sense.
Yeah.
And I almost like
From a storytelling perspective.
If they had just been like, fuck it, we're gonna kill Barrett, because in the original game, the first 3 characters that were developed by Nomura and were Cloud, Aerith, and Barrett.
Yeah.
And they were like, one of these characters has to die, and they weren't sure who it was gonna be, and it was Barrett for a long time. But then they decided it should be Aerith, and apparently there were plans to kill off like most of the party at one point.
I'd heard that, yeah. That like you pick your final 3 members going into that last battle with Sephiroth, and the rest of them
I
die.
heard it was the raid on Midgar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that like anybody who you didn't pick in your party got killed, which is
Shit.
so stupid. I'm so glad they didn't do
Yeah,
that
yeah. And
because
apparent
like
like
to
wasn't
have all
it?
these characters that you kill off screen at the very end, it just sounds
Yeah,
like the dumbest shit ever.
yeah.
But like
And apparently Nomura was the one to rein in Katase on that one.
that's what I've
Yeah.
heard. Yeah,
So he,
which is
you
interesting.
know,
So in
people
some
kind of
ways,
say
he
he
saved
saved
the
the
original
first one.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it also goes back to this idea that like Nomura doesn't like killing characters.
Yeah. And this game is
He's
about death. Like there's
yeah,
no
this is very much a
oh
game about life and death
yeah.
and how they kind of coexist and how they don't necessarily need to be opposites.
Yeah.
Like it's like death is a return to the life stream. It's a return to wholeness with like what life is.
Yeah.
And you could see the ending as a happy ending because all of the people returned to the live stream and became part of a healthy planet again.
Yeah.
And everyone was united in this oneness of the soul and all this shit, and it's just like that's kind of beautiful. Like
Yeah. And one thing, like in that opening shot, like the very first opening shot, in the demo, it was, pretty much exactly the same from the original. But then, like, when I first booted up the actual game and we were
yeah, you
like
get the
following
whole
this bird over the desert, and it's just like, whoa, this is different. It was like shocking at first. And then it wasn't really until my second playthrough, I was like, oh yeah, like we're flying over like the desert, and then you see Midgar, and it's just like there's no plant life. Like there's almost
it's like
no life around Midgar because it's sucked up all the
that was from
Mako.
the original game too. There was this giant patch of
Yeah,
dead land around Midgar,
yeah,
and it took a while of exploring before you realize, oh, this is a beautiful world. Like
yeah,
this is a beautiful, lush fantasy world. But
yeah.
we just don't know it because we've spent so much of this beginning of this game stuck in this dystopian city that has
Hmm.
completely killed everything about that world.
Yeah,
And that's what's so cool about like the progression of the original game because you gradually open up and you see how vast and diverse like the possibilities of this game are.
yeah,
And it's not going to have there's no way they can do it to the same effect with like the way they've done it here. So I don't know.
what do
Also,
you mean? Why can't they do that to the same effect?
well, we're just not going to be able to have that like leaving Midgar and seeing the world open up kind of thing, because like we're going to start the next game outside of Midgar, so it's a whole
Yeah,
new game with a whole new perspective. And so if you have like if you come into this game with a big wide world, then that's just the tone of this new game.
yeah, I
That's
guess I,
not
I guess
like
I see what
that's
you're
not
saying.
it's not a transition from one to the other. And like
But it still
also
kind of is because like it's a
it's not
continuation of the first
I just
game.
don't think it's gonna be quite the same.
It's
And
probably
I
not gonna
think
have the same impact, I guess. Yeah,
and it's not gonna have the same impact because they've already spoiled the main theme. They've already played it like 7 times.
yeah, yeah,
So like you you don't get that like, oh, this is the game. You don't get like this is the main overture. This is like what we've been building towards. And nah.
yeah. Like maybe they should have stuck with like the prelude song more throughout instead of
Yeah, I
the
think
main theme.
they should have held on to the main theme a little bit longer
Yeah,
before they dropped it in there. I mean, and I'm not opposed to them putting it in this game. I just think like walking around that Sector 7 slums is not necessarily where I want like da, na,
yeah,
na, na.
yeah,
Like it just doesn't fit. Like I want something a little bit more slummy.
yeah,
Um not to critique the actual composition of the main like the music in this game is by far the thing that I think is the least controversial. I'm pretty sure
yeah,
almost everyone unanimously fucking loves it.
yeah. Even the people
Um
I've heard, because I mean, even kind of the same way you and I did. Like the worst criticism I've heard is like the music is fantastic. It wasn't exactly used the best way, but it was fantastic.
yeah, the only point in the game where I think the music is actually bad is the fucking pillar.
Yeah.
And it's partially because they just stretch that battle music through what should be a should have been an orchestrated sequence.
Yes.
And I think the music they play when like Jesse and Biggs are dying is extremely melodramatic and takes the it. I don't, I don't like sappy music for sad scenes. I want just very minimalist, like give me just like a soft piano that's just setting tones with minor chords, and I
Yeah.
want like let the actor do the work.
Yeah.
Like don't push this heavy string section on me because
A-
it's not working.
And honestly, there's a lot of times I feel like no music would even be better. You know?
Yeah.
It's just
And you
sometimes
know what?
that's
I think they should have
almost
done.
more emotional when there's just no music, and it's just like it kind of almost like sucks all of the emotion out of it, and then just like allows the emotions to happen naturally.
And I think they almost had like a great death scene for Jesse. But like in true fashion, they took it a little too far. Like she does this thing where she like that when you first like meet her again after not seeing her for such a long time, and she's throwing bombs and shit, and you're like, yeah, Jesse's being Jesse, and she comes back so strong
Yeah.
because like everybody's like a mess, and then Jesse's just Jesse. Like she's
Yeah.
still just in top form. She's sassy. She's cracking jokes. She's
Yeah.
blowing shit up,
Yeah.
and she's prancing around like, oh, is that good enough for you?
Yeah.
And then like she turns a corner, and this like fucking helicopter comes up, and she's just blinded by light. And like if you just saw her like stare into that light and then the just like fade to white
Yeah.
and then just hear fucking gunshots, and you're just like, oh fuck, they just killed Jesse.
Yeah.
And then maybe you find her and you can have
Fine.
some sort of a death scene there.
Or
But
even like just find her body.
yeah,
Like I feel
maybe
like that
don't
would have
give her a
been.
final line because her final lines weren't that good.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing memorable in there that makes me think like, oh yeah, I'm so glad we found her and were able to talk to her.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like they kind of like they pushed it too far. Like and they tried to make it way too sappy and trying way too hard to make us feel sad here.
Yeah.
And it just didn't hit me. It didn't resonate with me. And I was and they set it up so well to resonate with me. Like I felt more emotional going to meet Jesse's parents and like getting the backstory on her dad and shit than I did when she died.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's partially because I knew she was going to die, so I felt that like emotion preemptively.
Yeah.
But then when it actually happened, I was like, well, that just didn't play out quite like I thought it would, or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to even put words to it, but I just
Yeah.
like I felt like the plate fall in general was very disappointing to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Also because literally everyone survived it,
Yeah.
like
There's
except the
just
drunk dealer.
no yeah.
Poor guy.
Rest in peace, drunk dealer.
Oh, and that girl who like keeps tally of how many monsters he killed. She's dead.
Oh yeah, I guess she doesn't come back.
Too bad.
Yeah.
She was cute.
She was cute. Um, one thing I really liked was like the Shinra VR thing. Like when you walk into it and like you're on like this fucking Disney ride, like
Oh, it's an
through
Epcot ride. Yeah,
an
for
Epcot
sure.
ride, yeah,
Yeah.
through the ancient like world.
Did you
And
notice the Easter egg in there, or
I
have you
didn't
heard
see
about it?
it. I heard about it. I
Yeah.
have to pay more closer attention to it. And like I don't even I'm gonna look it up right now. I don't know what Shinra looks like. I heard he like wears a mask or some shit. And I hope that is all it ends up being is just an Easter egg.
I don't know. I'm not,
Oh, okay, I see.
I've never hated the um oh wait.
So it's is it actually in the VR scene?
It's not there. It's actually in the picture.
It's in the picture. Okay, beforehand. Huh.
So that's even
Okay.
more subtle than I thought it was.
Yeah.
As much as I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy X too.
Did you finish it? Did you ever finish it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I got there's like three different endings, and I got the worst ending
Oh
because I
yeah.
didn't realize that like when they were telling you you're 50% of the way through the game, they weren't counting 100% as literally 100%
Literally
of the game.
everything. Yeah.
I thought I was just halfway through the story, and then I'm like, oh, this is the end,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, fuck this game, and but uh, I didn't like Final Fantasy X too. I thought it was super cringe, but
Yeah.
I
I've never played it. I think I watched you play like the first hour or something, and I
I
don't
don't
even
hate the
remember it.
tie-in of Final Fantasy X to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
I think the idea that that Spira is like the world of the ancients is kind of interesting. But the other cool thing about when they showed the ancients is it looked like classic Final Fantasy. Like you saw like old school airships flying around, and
Yeah.
just like everything looked like this is an early Final Fantasy game,
Yeah. It looked cool
which
as
is neat.
hell. And plus
Yeah.
you were just getting this background information that I feel like we were craving. Like that was one of those moments where it was like we wanted more information on the ancients and who they are and what they were and what they did, and like they were giving that to us. That was one of
That
those like changes that I thought was so good that I really wanted, and I didn't realize how badly I wanted it until I got it.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it was great. That that's one of the best parts of the game for sure.
Yeah.
That Shinra tour could have gone on 3 times as long, and I would have been so happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just wanted to tour. I just wanted to learn everything about Shinra. I wanted
Yeah.
to go back to their whole history. I wanted to learn about like how was the company founded, and
Yeah.
like when did they do these things, and like what was the first Mako reactor, like who designed
Yeah.
it, and like all that kind of shit. Like
That would have been so interesting.
I would have sat there for a massive exposition dump and
Yeah.
just been like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, because the delivery was so good,
Yeah.
and like
Although that was
and all that
probably
shit
one
was
of the more
interesting.
expensive parts of the game too. So
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like I know jack shit about game development, but like I'm sure that part was expensive.
Well, that was an FMV sequence. The whole
Yeah.
that wasn't Unreal Engine that they used to like
Yeah,
make
yeah.
that. Which is
Which
weird, but
is
like
more
especially
expensive, right? Or less expensive? I have no idea.
I imagine it's slightly harder just because like um you kind of have to make it within the I don't know. It's hard to say.
I would think
Like
it would be less expensive because it's just like one team working on one scene,
probably,
and
but
there's
I
no
also think they
interaction or
probably had a whole separate team that was developing those FMVs while everyone else was like building the game.
yeah,
Because you have animators who are just like make these movies and we'll
yeah.
play them
That's all it would
here.
be. Yeah,
And in terms of designing the game, it's probably much easier to just like trigger a movie than to like have all of these sequences take place. I don't know. I don't know enough about game design to
yeah,
speak
I
with
don't know.
any fucking authority on
Yeah,
this. But you know what I started to feel towards the end though is when it would cut back and forth between like the FMVs and the back to the actual in-game graphics. I think I like the in-game graphics better.
yeah. You think?
Yeah, like when it would cut back and forth between like the two versions of Cloud, like like the good graphics Cloud looked kind of weird to me.
And it
Like
seemed like there were two, well, I guess even like three levels of like graphics, even in the game. Because like I feel like when you're just running around a town
when you're doing side quests, there's
in side
sometimes like
quests,
just real shitty graphics
yeah,
that feel like this is almost like reverted to PS2 era.
yeah. And then like when
And
there's just like still in game little cutscenes, I feel like they up like especially their facial graphics a bit more. And then there's like the
and
FMVs,
especially it seemed
and I
like
think
Aerith. It seemed like Aerith always
she
had a
looked
little bit
very
better
different.
graphics than everyone else.
Especially like on my third playthrough, I was like that opening scene with her, like the classic scene where she's praying at the
Well,
live
that's an
stream thing.
example of the actual like FMV. Like that was an
Yeah,
actual movie.
and that looked she looked very different in that than any other part of the game.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it was just like a
And
different
then at the
team
end,
or
when they after they beat the Whisper King thing, and then they're like walking around in the sky place from Kingdom Hearts, and uh like Sephiroth like hears Cloud and he turns and he looks at Aerith and she's like, huh? And then they go fight Sephiroth. Like that scene, like they're all like upped.
Yeah.
They're all in the special graphics.
Yeah.
And that I don't know. I just
But
like them. I like the regular
yeah, no,
models better
I
for
think I
some
agree with
reason.
you too. I think I do agree with you there.
Because like then there was the scene where like Cloud goes into that fight with Sephiroth at the edge of the universe or whatever it's called,
Edge of
and
Creation.
Edge of Creation, yeah, and it starts as like a movie sequence, and then like right before you actually go into the sort of fight sequence, it cuts back, and I'm like, there we go, that's the Cloud I know. Like that's the Cloud I've spent this whole game with.
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's the Cloud I feel like emotional attachment to when I see him, because like this other Cloud feels like it's somebody new. It's like I don't recognize this guy.
yeah.
Like he's almost too real looking. Like
Yeah.
that it
You get
gets
that
into the
uncanny
like
valley.
uncanny valley
Yeah.
territory, and I'm just like I don't like this.
Yeah.
And it's not Cloud. Like Cloud's not a real person, so
Yeah.
I don't want.
I remember hearing like the developers talk about that. Like they could have made all the characters look super realistic and like make their bodies, you know, proportional to like a regular human body. And they decided to go against that and make them a bit more like Barrett's body proportions are fucking weird. Like no
They're weird
human
as fuck.
being
Yeah.
is built like that. But that's Barrett. That is Barrett.
Yeah.
That is the Barrett we know, and to me that looks like Barrett.
I think Aerith looks very much like a person
She looks more like a person than
than anybody else. I'd say.
maybe Tifa, because
Oh,
like
I think Tifa looks weird as fuck.
I think she looks like a
I think Tifa looks like an anime
Instagram
character.
model.
Yeah, I really don't like the way that Tifa was animated. And I remember
Yeah.
thinking that immediately when I saw her in that E3 trailer. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
oh god, as good as Aerith looks in this game, like that's the best they could do for Tifa.
Yeah.
Like, but at the same time, like she's dangerous territory because
Oh
like
yeah.
you over animate Tifa and it becomes something totally weird. Like, I don't know.
She was, I think, probably the hardest to get right out of
She
any
was
of them.
probably the most controversial
Oh
about how
yeah.
you're gonna
I
like
mean,
how you're gonna
she was
update
the
this
one that
character.
anybody I heard complain about. You know.
Yeah, she was the one that all the fucking incels were like, they made her boobs smaller.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
why would you want that? Like, her boobs were already
Yeah.
distractingly large,
Yeah.
and like and we're supposed to be told that like they shrunk them. Like,
Yeah.
there were scenes where I'm just like, oh my god, Tifa's tits, like get that shit off the screen. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like. It just was like I don't know. It's just times when it is just distracting. Like I could
Distracting.
have,
Yeah.
they could have taken her down another cup size, and I would have been okay with that.
Yeah. I
Just
don't
because like
really like care.
she's a good character, and
Right.
sometimes I just feel like she's disserviced by like the fact that like the first thing you think of when you every time you look at her is those fucking giant bazungas.
Yeah. I mean, like at the end, there's just like a lot of cryptic shit that they left they left cryptic, I'm sure on purpose for
So
reasons
people would
like
talk
this,
about
so
it,
people
and
would
they
talk
have their
about it.
yeah,
So they
it's
got that.
working.
It is working. I mean, we are nitpicking the shit out of this game where
It's cool. I mean, that's one of the things that I think like I'm grateful for, and I don't know if this would have happened regardless, or if the way they did the ending kind of spurred it to happen more. But I am seeing the
I,
most in-depth culture of discussion around not just the remake, but Final Fantasy VII period.
yeah.
That
Like
I've just never had the pleasure of being able to find this so easily.
yeah.
Like
And
of just
like
being able to find intelligent people like talking deep about this game.
yeah. And I haven't seen a community like this like since Lost, you know, with everybody's
Yeah.
got their 2 cents and their
And that's
theories
part of
and
what scares me, I think, is because like there's aspects of this that remind me very much of Lost and remind me very much of Game of Thrones.
yeah.
And I think both of those turned out they had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah.
Like they and I'm just and I don't know if being and I ended up loving Lost. I ended up loving the way they ended it because in spite of not having a cohesive explanation for what was going on, they pulled it together and made it like an emotional story that resonated with me personally. Game of Thrones, not at all. Game of
Mhm.
Thrones was an absolute train wreck at the end, and after being kind of burned by these stories that you just have faith and you follow, not knowing where they're going, I just wanted a game that we knew the ending to. I just
Yeah.
wanted a story to play out where we have the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth act written.
Yeah.
And we just, all we have to do is make every story beat flow together a little bit better than it did the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
And we have this great opportunity to tell a tight story that makes cohesive sense because we have the whole thing. And they
Yeah.
decided, no, we're going to do the mystery box.
Yeah. And
And I thought, fuck.
that's probably the biggest difference between Lost and Game of Thrones and this is like Lost was just fresh. It was completely new. I had no source material to
Yep.
go off of. Game of Thrones had a great, fantastic source material. It just wasn't
But it
finished.
still didn't have an ending. Yeah.
But this is Final Fantasy VII. It's done. It's out. It's complete. It's been
It's
done for
done.
23
You
years.
have the entire source material.
Yeah. And then you've got some spin-offs that you can add to it if you wanted, which
If
I'm
you
glad they
or
did. But like,
to fill in gaps and shit, then
yeah,
you got
that's all you
props.
needed to do.
And they've proved themselves to be very competent about fleshing out some of the side shit. Like
Yeah.
they definitely know how to hit the core spirit of this game and like bring it to light, but they still want to make mysteries.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I don't know. I almost wondering if, like, as a society, and I don't know if it's just the most jaded amongst us that have been on this train through Lost and through Game of Thrones
Yeah.
and through this other shit.
The train we've been on a lot.
Yeah, and I wonder if we're moving into this like post-mystery way of storytelling. That it's like, yep, the mysteries are cool. Like building a whole story around like how are we going to answer these questions is like fun, but the payoff is never there.
Yeah.
The payoff is never as good as the question. The answer is never as good as the question. That's what J.J. Abrams said. But at some point you need to acknowledge, yeah, but everyone's here for the answer.
Yeah.
So like if you are creating a story that will inevitably disappoint, don't do that.
Yeah. Because
Like
there's a lot of great stories out there that don't have mystery and they don't have a big twist or a big surprise. Like they're just good stories.
but they plant seeds and they pay off
Yeah.
and they have payoff and it's just like, oh yeah, I guess we've been building this up for a while. And like Final Fantasy VII like kind of did that in the original game but could have done that even better in the remake.
Yeah.
But they still chose to take the risk and go down an uncharted course that maybe I'm just way too pessimistic. But unless they are going to transcend the limitations of almost everyone who's come before them, they're doing this with a subject matter that you can almost never get right. And
Yeah.
that is time travel. Like, it just sucks. Like, no one is good at telling a time travel story.
Yeah. Bill and
The
Ted
only
did it,
people
and
who have
that's
done
about
it
as good as it's
right,
gonna get.
who?
Bill and Ted.
Yeah, the only ways you do it right is just by making it silly.
Yeah.
Like, Bill and Ted is good, Doctor Who is good, because no one is thinking, like, well, this doesn't make sense. It's like, it's goofy. It's for kids. Like,
Yeah.
who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you can't make time travel, like, work in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
Because it's just it's an impossible concept to grasp, and it's full of too many complications and too many, like, because even now I'm racking my brain to think about, like, where where did Sephiroth come back from? Where did he go back to? What is he doing for most of the game?
Yeah.
And how is this ripple effect affecting things beyond, like, just how he's interacting with you? And how are you going to do anything the same after being thrown off course by Sephiroth? And also, if Aerith is also time traveling, how it's just there's so many plot holes now that, like, it's like they fixed some plot holes but they created like 4 billion new ones.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating because it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
And that was Danny's
It,
whole like thing. He was like, it just didn't feel necessary.
yeah, it wasn't. And it's the I mean, honestly, the original Final Fantasy VII story is already pretty complicated.
It
You
is, and
know,
it's overwhelming how they're
it
gonna
is.
tell it all.
And yeah, and then they just added this whole other time
And then they made
travel,
it way harder for themselves.
separate timeline.
Yeah. And they
Eh,
may knock it out of the park. I mean, it's possible.
It's possible.
I
Highly unlikely, but it's
It
possible.
is highly unlikely, and that's what kind of makes me sad is because like, and the other thing that really makes me sad, I think more than anything else, is the fact that like the first game is such a good story as the remake has kind of shed light on it. There's a lot of really complex stuff going on that the first game doesn't do a very good job of really illustrating.
You have to fill in the gaps yourself a lot.
You really have to like, and it was something that Danny was saying to me um when you were in the bathroom or something. He was like, this Final Fantasy VII feels like what you thought the old Final Fantasy VII was. And I'm like, no, this just was always Final Fantasy VII. It's just like they never gave you all the pieces, and what pieces they did give you were mistranslated, poorly written, and rushed. So like the good story now will never really exist because and that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for a a a, a definitive version. I was
Yeah,
hoping
yeah,
for a version that was so good that people wouldn't go back to the old game.
yeah.
And people we could just let this be this dated relic that was like, yeah, if you want to go and like experience like with the roots, then like this is a fun little exercise to play like the original Final Fantasy VII, but
Yeah.
like for all intents and purposes just play the remake because most
Yeah.
people hate turn-based combat. So like you're going to
And
get a much wider audience
it's
to a game that doesn't force you to do that.
even like regardless of turn-based combat, like old games, they're just hard to get into if you don't have the nostalgia.
It
Like
is.
I just recently went back and for the first time played Half-Life. Fucking hated it,
Yeah.
man. I by the end of that game, I well, I didn't can't even say I beat it. I got to the final boss and I got so pissed off. I rage quit. And I never rage quit.
I
I
always rage
fight
quit
through
that
that shit.
game. Yeah.
But like with Half-Life, and it was just like it just didn't age well, and I'm sure people are gonna hate on me for this, but like I did not like it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if I played it back in '97 or even 5 years after, I probably would have enjoyed it more and appreciated it more. But there's just so many quality of life things that have come with experience of video games. Like
And so much
23
narrative
years is
immersion
a
stuff.
yeah, it's 23 years is a huge difference in video games. It's huge, unlike any other medium. So
Oh
a
yeah.
lot
And
a
video
lot
games
of
like
new
in general don't age well.
yeah.
Like once video game technology has become out of date, it's not like going back and watching Casablanca.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this game doesn't hold up. Like
It
this isn't fun
yeah,
anymore
and you have to get
because
through it
like we know what
yourself.
you can do.
Yeah. And it's not like a 2-hour experience where you can just sit and suffer through it even if you don't like it. Like you have
But I
to
wouldn't even say
work
you suffer
through it.
through Casablanca
No,
because
no,
like
not at all.
it's a
It's
great
it's a good
movie to
movie.
this day, even though
Yeah.
they didn't have like you look at certain things and you kind of laugh at like, oh, they zoomed in on a map
Yeah.
and it just faded into
Yeah.
like, but
And that's not what I'm saying, but like
yeah,
but with this new new players to the Final Fantasy VII genre or franchise, whatever you want to call it, like they all feel like they're gonna have to go back and play the original to understand what's going
you
on in the
kind
new
of
one, and you
do.
and you do, or you at least
Yeah.
have to like watch someone play it or go to a Wikipedia page and read every story plot point and understand. You have to understand the full story to be able to fully appreciate that ending,
But then I also
and it's
wonder
an ending that most
if
people don't even like.
we're hyper focusing on like split second shots because we know what they are, and an unversed player would just like overlook certain things.
Yeah, Yeah.
and like just think, oh, this is weird mystery stuff that
Yeah.
like I'm
They're
not
just
supposed to understand, and they'll
yeah.
probably forget about most of it until it becomes relevant again.
Yeah.
And maybe as fans, we're actually at a disadvantage for interpreting this game for the way you're supposed to. Because like there's a
Yeah.
thing that like I remember the first time I played the game, I thought, what the fuck are they showing this for?
Yeah.
When like
When you're
Cloud is lowering Aerith into the water.
well,
And then
even
in my
before that.
second playthrough, I was like, oh, you can't actually see who that is. Like you can
Yeah.
kind of tell that that's Cloud, but there's no way to tell who it is he's putting in the water.
Yeah.
And and so like unless you know who what you're seeing, you're just seeing nothing.
And I guess, and you don't even know like what he's doing standing in the middle of the water. Like, it's from my, from that split second that I remember, it's like just a fuzzy thing. Like you don't even know if he's holding a person or holding anything, or
Yeah.
it's just,
It's kind
it's
of like a
just
light. Like you see this like light that kind of like
yeah.
blurs Aerith out. But like I just
You
remember
don't know
thinking
he's
the
like
first time I played that, like, why are you showing this?
yeah. And I
Like,
remember like that first like real flashback of the when you're in the church the first time with Aerith, and like you see the materia like
the white materia
bouncing.
bouncing, yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, the fuck are they doing? Why are they doing this now? Like that's
Well,
insane.
I remember thinking that because I'm thinking like, what is this? Some fucking end of Lost shit? Are we getting
Yeah.
flashed forwards into
Yeah.
like a life that we like once lived?
Yeah.
And like because I saw the fucking final trailer, I like kind of knew what the whispers were because
I,
like Red 13 explains it in the trailer, which is dumb as fuck.
yeah.
But like Square Enix is never going to release a game that they don't entirely spoil 2 weeks before it comes out.
Yeah. Have
Um
you watched the latest Last of Us trailer?
no.
Neither have I, and I'm not going to.
I'm not following Last of Us 2 that closely.
Yeah. And I'm
I
I'm
don't know
not
if I'm
on
that
purpose
hyped for that
because
game, to be honest.
really, God, I'm so fucking excited,
I just
man.
thought like
I'm
do we need a sequel to that game?
Do we need one? No.
I mean,
But
should there
do
be
I
a
want
sequel to
one?
that game? I think I'm going to rephrase that because like
I
the
think
story felt
yes.
complete and the gameplay was never fun. So like I don't know if I want to play another Last of Us.
I do. I really want to.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm really
I
excited for it,
loved the
man.
story. I just thought the gameplay was awful.
Yeah. I can see that. And it's an older game. It's,
Yeah.
you know.
They might they might refresh it a little
Oh, I'm
bit
sure.
for
I'm sure they are.
make it a little bit smoother.
But like, I mean, Ellie was so young in that first game. Like, I'm excited to see her older and see what they're gonna do with her. And
Yeah,
and
Ellie's
from
just a
from what
generally good character.
oh yeah,
Like
like from
she's
what little I've seen from the like I try not to watch too many trailers because of spoilers, and
the
video
last
games
thing I
are
saw was
video
that
games for
big
a reason, because the
trailer
best
for
way to
everything.
experience them is to actually play them, and
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
different watching than actually playing. But like
Final
the
Fantasy VII, I made an exception because I'm just so fucking thirsty for anything for that game that
and
I just
and it
want to
was a
play
remake.
everything.
We thought we kind of knew what was going to go in generally, and yeah.
And I just
But
didn't
Final
think
Fantasy
Square
7,
Enix would show you as much as they showed you in that final trailer. I was like,
yeah,
oh man, every single I saw the end of the game here.
yeah.
Like, whatever.
But I think Ellie's got a lot of, again, from what little I've seen, she's got a lot of Joel in her now. You can kind of see the influence that Joel had on
That
her,
makes sense.
and
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see that. But that's Last of Us. I'm sure we'll talk
I'm
about that
excited
more.
for Cyberpunk too.
Yeah,
Just because it's CD Projekt Red
yeah.
and they fucking killed it with The Witcher 3, and if they can do something like that with the Cyberpunk setting, like fuck, that's gonna be cool as hell. But
Probably as excited as you are for that is as excited I am for Last of Us. Because I mean, I'm
yeah, I
excited
mean,
for
I
Cyberpunk as
fully
well,
intend to
but
play both.
yeah, same here.
I just
We just have
I don't know. The
kind
Last
of
of Us just
switched
is
levels of
it's
excitement.
yeah, basically. I wonder how long it's gonna be until we start getting like stuff for the next game.
Yeah, that's.
Do you think the
I
next
just.
E3 they're gonna be ready to like send out a teaser? Or do you think we're gonna have to wait a whole year before?
Do you mean like? Well, I mean, they're not doing E3 this year at all, right?
Yeah,
So you mean like 2021 E3? Maybe.
Because E3 would be happening like now, right? Or it's like June, isn't it? Or June or July?
Yeah, I think it'd be next month. About this time next month, I think. But
Um,
yeah, maybe
yeah, do
next
you
year.
think
I wouldn't be
2021
surprised if we saw it next year.
we're gonna get our trailer for or our teaser trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake too?
I I think I would be more surprised if it was next year than the following year. I could see it coming next year because it's a
I would hope that we'd
continuation.
have something by next year because that
Oh,
would mean if we don't have anything by next year, that means like it's gonna be like years before. And
yeah.
and the one thing that Nomura said that like I really like is, and I kind of brushed over this in the conversation with the three of us, where he's saying like, listen, we can either make like these big epic games that you guys seem to think that we can just cram out, or we can make these small focused games and just really flesh out a part of the original game, and we can bring these out like every 2 years.
Yeah.
Or you can wait 6 years and we can bring you an open world disc one.
Yeah. It
But like,
That's something I heard like Night Sky Prince and like Soldier First Class. They were kind of
yeah,
like, if I think the games would have been fine if they were like 30, 40 hours, but people just kind of expect like 60, 70, 80 hour games out of a JRPG.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
it,
I could have been very, I would have been very happy with a 30-hour game.
and when they said that, like I was like, yeah, I was totally expecting a 60, 70 hour game, and like I would have been upset if it wasn't that. But like thinking about it more logically is like they could have just packed this game into 30, 40 hours, and it would have been
Cut out some of
even
those side
better,
quests,
maybe.
really shorten the fucking sewers and the
Yeah.
fucking train graveyard and
Cause
all the
like
shit that just dragged.
yeah, cause like God of War I think was the best game of the last decade. And I mean I think I beat it in 24, 25 hours. You know. That was and it was a good, concise, it never got dull game. So I think we just a lot of that is just like perceptions and expectations, So going forward, with that in mind, I think I'd be happy with shorter games, as long as I get, you know,
As long
uh,
as they maintain the quality, like,
yeah,
and that's the big thing. Like, they really, I want them to keep up this production value. I want them to keep up this attention to detail. I want them to keep up this, like, when you go into a scene, every single character in your party has something to contribute to the scene. It's not just like, it just always feels like it always feels like you're watching a movie and then you're playing a game, and then you're watching a movie again, and then you're playing a game. And I loved that, and I want the whole game to feel like that,
yeah,
the whole story. I mean, whatever we have to call it,
yeah,
um, but then there are things like the fucking when you jump off the train and you run through the train tracks,
yeah,
like in chapter 5, I think.
yeah,
God,
like,
that just was way too long.
yeah,
Like it's just like all that shit just is like this could have been half as long as it was. I hated the the lights.
the lights. Oh yeah,
Like that's an entire chapter of just turning off lights.
yeah, and the only
Another
saving,
entire chapter is like meeting Eris, fighting Reno, escaping the church, going
yeah,
back, meeting her mom, coming back around, going through sector fucking 6, and then you get to Walmart and you start the next chapter.
yeah,
That's an entire chapter.
yeah,
So is turning off the lights to get to the second Mako reactor.
yeah,
Like, come on, guys. Like, how did you fucking pace this game?
yeah.
Like,
The only
I don't know.
saving grace to that is just the dialogue and the banter between characters.
Yeah, Tifa and Bear
That's
it's just fun.
yeah,
Yeah. In the same way that the only saving grace of the fucking sewers is like Tifa Aerith friendship that's blossoming.
yeah,
Like, and it's just like you guys are the best fucking couple of this game. Like,
yeah,
and I almost feel like that's they're doing something deliberate there. Like that there's a element like and it really stood out to me the second playthrough that like the first really defiant against fate moment was when Aerith is like in the swirl of fucking ghosts.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm losing something every time they touch me. And then like Tifa just grabs her and pulls her out. And she's like, we got you.
Yeah.
And she like, and that's the moment where they kind of unofficially decide, no, fuck this, we're fighting fate.
Yeah.
And that was like, and they do something cool because like Cloud, in order to be Cloud, can't be the hero. Like he can't do all these heroic, noble things that like you kind of need the main character to do to advance the plot. But Cloud's not that guy. Like he's the guy who kind of stands there indifferently and is like, I'm gonna do what absolutely needs to be done, but don't expect me to be like nice or caring.
Yeah.
So like Tifa kind of steps up to be that sort of classic hero. And she sort of is that like knight in shining armor for Aerith that Cloud won't be.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
And just like on the topic of character development, I loved how much Barrett was truly a leader in this. Like there were
For
moments
sure,
where he
yeah.
stood up and he was like, "Listen, I'm the leader here." Like especially like right after the first bombing, and you like get out right before you like see the devastation
And you
that
hear
you
the
caused.
Shinra theme and he makes that big speech.
Yeah, that is so good. And he's like, "Put all your problems on me. I got you." And it's like, and I want to see that leadership throughout.
And even like in a moment where they totally nerfed Barrett in the original and sort of just like cut off his balls and made him a pointless character. Like when they're like they leave Midgar and they're like, who should be the leader? Cloud.
Yeah.
And Barrett's like, oh okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he like remained strong and central, and like he was kind of the final decision of like, okay, if they're coming after the planet, then like this is Avalanche needs to take care of this.
Yeah.
And it
He kind of
seemed
had
like
that.
everyone was waiting for Barrett's call there
Yeah.
to be like, yep, this is what we're doing, guys.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I mean, the Barrett is a much better character in this version than he was in the original.
Yeah.
Aerith is too.
Yeah.
And Cloud is as good, and Tifa is getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Cloud is where he needed to be though,
Cloud is perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cloud is Cloud. And I've heard I saw some people complain that they were really frustrated that like he didn't have enough character growth in this game. And I was just
It's
like,
the
but
first
Cloud's
game.
not supposed to grow at all. Like it's the first game. Like he's still kind of an asshole when you leave Midgar.
Yeah.
Like you're not really gonna.
And he
Like
did still have a bit of growth though.
he
Like
did. He cracked. You saw
yeah.
cracks in his demeanor. Like he's
Yeah.
starting to smile. Like when they're walking up the thing, and like they're like, "Hey, Cloud, you gonna help us rebuild Sector 7?" He's like, "Yeah, for a price." And they all
Yeah.
just kind of laugh about it.
Yeah.
It's like there's a progression there.
Yeah. And something people keep saying that this game needed to feel like a whole game in and of itself. Like it needed to have a beginning, middle, and an end. And I totally get that. But like
It did, but it didn't need to have in the way that it did. I don't know.
Yeah, but like I think of Lord of the Rings. Like I
Yep.
remember watching the first Lord of the Rings and I was
Which is the best
super young and I didn't know going into it that there were going to be parts 2 and 3.
Neither
And
did
I was just like that the movie just like ended. I was like what the fuck? He still got the ring? Like what the hell is happening? And it's just like him and Sam just like walking off into the distance and it's just like
But it was awesome.
but it was so good.
Yeah.
And you didn't need this big flashy ending. Like you could have just ended it with them at the end of the highway, just like walking, just like looking at what's gonna happen next. Like that's still just like such a wonder of like what's gonna happen. Anything could happen.
What I wish they would have kind of done there. One, I played out the whole way that I think Roche should have been like the final boss.
Yeah.
And I think that would have more concisely closed this chapter of the story without forcing in some shit that doesn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last scene could have been them like setting off, and then you just get this like flyover of like the world.
Yeah.
And that maybe this is the first moment where you really hear like the main theme in like all its fucking glory as you just like fly over like Gaia.
Yeah.
And you just see
Just
mountains
birds
and
and
rivers and oceans
chocobos,
and
like
monsters and chocobos
herds of
and just
chocobos, and
yeah, and
yeah,
just giant like majestic beasts, and maybe you fly over to the other continent and you go over Gold Saucer and you just think like, what is
yeah,
all this shit? Like, are we
yeah,
gonna get to see all of this world? It's
yeah,
like this is huge.
yeah. Oh, that would have been amazing, man. Like, oh.
And you
And you
give
see this
everybody
city with a giant cannon sticking out of it. Then you see
yeah.
fucking Wu Tai and
You
oh
see, fly over Wu Tai
yeah,
and
man.
maybe end up at Northern Crater and you fly in and you
Yeah.
close in on this sleeping Sephiroth
Yeah.
and then you cut to black. And you're giving them everything. You're giving them everything they
Yeah.
want, but you're not ruining any of the story because it's all still there
Yeah.
and nothing's spoiled. It's just teased.
Yeah.
And that's what I wish they would have had the artistic restraint to like make this game that way. To just be like just tease all the good shit, but recognize that like this is build up.
Yeah.
Like
This is part 1.
yeah, this is essentially a prologue to the rest of the story.
Yeah. This is
And
exposition that they set up very, very well. And
I
it
do, and
should
I'm in yeah.
it should that good exposition should keep you interested enough for the rest of the games.
And call me a purist, whatever.
Yeah,
I
I know.
think the original introduction of Sephiroth is perfect. Like, it is one of the true great strokes of genius in Final Fantasy VII. They hint this character that everyone just kind of like references, everyone knows who he is, everyone talks about him with varying degrees of reverence, but you never really get an idea of who he is until all of a sudden it's implied after you fight your way through the fucking hardest like never-ending dungeon and then get to the top only to get captured and realize like we don't stand a fucking chance. Then this guy comes in, makes easy work of everything, leaves a trail of blood through the place, kills the main antagonist of the game at that point, and then you're like, wait, who the fuck is Sephiroth? Then you go and you get this huge backstory on him.
Yeah.
You get this exposition dump that is like really fun. And you get him in the party and you just get this huge difference between the damage you've been doing throughout the game and you see this guy just slaying dragons.
Yeah.
And you think like this game just turned into something radically different.
Yeah.
And like that was the moment of genius in Final Fantasy VII. Like that was the first true moment of genius in Final Fantasy VII was that Sephiroth reveal. And they fumbled that in my opinion.
And I mean that's kind of the classic Final Fantasy formula. Like you start out the game, they tell you, what the rules are, who the main villain is, what your end goal is, and then at some point like they shift it and turn it on its head and you're like, nope, this is the real story, like what you've been doing all along. Like
And Final Fantasy VII, to be fair, does that about 4 times.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and I can see the argument that like that's what they were doing with this ending is flipping it, but they flipped it too early and too hard, I guess, It
Yeah, and
it just
in a way
wasn't
that makes
earned.
no, it absolutely wasn't earned because we don't know who Sephiroth is. We don't know who Zack is. We don't really know who Genova is.
Yeah.
Fuck, we don't really know who Rufus is. Like,
Yeah.
like as much as it was a little weird in the original game, this game suffers from not giving Rufus his speech.
Yeah.
Because like there's something about like really laying out the difference between Rufus and his father. That like President Shinra was just a fucking cold hard capitalist and his sole motivation was like, I'm trying to make money. I want to be rich, I want to be comfortable, and I want other people to be rich and comfortable. But ultimately, I'm a fucking capitalist. Like I'm here to make as much money as possible and nothing is going to stand in my way. And he more or less has that speech at the end.
Yeah.
Like where he like lays that out really well. And then Rufus comes along because like you think you've taken out the bad guy, and then Rufus comes along. He's like, no, I'm gonna go with just straight fascism. I'm just gonna run shit with fear, and anybody who gets in my way, I'm probably gonna kill him.
Yeah.
And like that's the way shit's gonna be now. And you're like, oh fuck! It's like the scene at the end of fucking the first season of Breaking Bad where they killed the one, they kill the the Mexican cartel guy, and then Tuco comes
And then
along, and
Tuco.
they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh fuck, this guy's
Yeah.
way worse."
Yeah.
And it's like we fucked up by killing the other guy.
Yeah.
Like, and and Final Fantasy VII beat Breaking Bad to that plot point,
Yeah.
to that plot twist,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was really cool. And I mean, shit, Rufus is still cool. Rufus will always be cool, but
Oh yeah.
like, but I don't feel like new players are gonna appreciate what Rufus means to the story because like we don't really know anything about him.
Yeah.
Like going out of the
At this
first
point, it's
game.
kind of one of those things that they now have to fill in their own gaps.
Yeah.
Like they don't really know why Rufus is better or worse or even any different than his dad.
And maybe for the goal of like keeping people talking about this game for 2, 3 years, however long it takes to bring out the veteran, maybe that serves. Maybe a lot of this shit serves a better purpose, not having like fulfilled, concrete like story developments. Like it's just all kind of up in the air, and they're gonna explain all this shit in the next game
Yeah.
early. Like I really 100% believe that like we are gonna open the game pre-credits in the flashback.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a late title sequence. It's gonna be
That'd
very
be cool though.
reminiscent
That'd be
of like
cool.
Kingdom, like the way that Kingdom Hearts always like
Yeah.
has a long intro, except for
Yeah.
3, because 3 they just decided fuck everything that's good about this franchise, and we'll just
Yeah.
fucking fumble through whatever the fuck we want to do.
Yep.
But Kingdom Hearts 2
Kingdom
has
Hearts
like maybe
2.
one of the best openings of any game ever,
Yeah.
and you spend a fuck ton of that game grinding side quests as a character that you're not sure why you should give a fuck about.
Yeah.
And like I remember getting to a point in Kingdom Hearts 2 where I actually picked up the back of the box and I'm like, yeah, okay, Cloud and Sephiroth are in this game.
Yeah.
Like Mickey Mouse and everybody, yeah, this is still Kingdom Hearts, like because you're like 2 hours in and you don't even recognize any characters yet.
Yeah.
And you're like, but then they turn it around and you're like, God, that was perfect. That was so fucking good. And then the rest of the game is not nearly as good as the beginning, and you're just like, but I could see him doing something similar. I could see him doing the whole Nibelheim flashback and then giving you that Final Fantasy VII
Yeah. That'd be really
at
cool.
the
I would
very
like
end of
that.
it,
Yeah.
and then cutting to the Zack timeline, of course. And
Oh yeah. Because that's how we do things now.
that's where we go next.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we kind of.
I feel like we have hit every point on this. I figured we wouldn't go over all
Yeah, I
these,
didn't
but
think
I'm
we
glad we did. Oh, one thing I really like to say now, which I didn't really get a chance to say yet, and it's in my notes, so I'm gonna say it. We talked a little bit about the Buster Sword and how cool it is that you can stick with the Buster Sword pretty much the entire game. Like, sure, get the skills off of the other weapons, but then like
and then go
you
back.
you can have the Buster Sword pretty much throughout the whole game, and
That's
and
why I'm
really
putting my second playthrough. I
at
need to
the
go
end of the
back to
game,
Buster
yeah,
Sword.
yeah, no, because and really, you know, it depends on your play style, but the Buster Sword is the best sword in the game.
It's the most balanced weapon.
It's
Yeah.
the most balanced for sure. And I'm so glad they did that because of the Buster Sword has got its own history.
Yeah.
It's a character in and of itself.
Especially with Crisis Core. Like
Yeah.
Crisis Core turned the Buster Sword into its own character.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's this legacy of Final Fantasy VII as a whole, you know. It's I just had to get that in there.
It's the only Final Fantasy VII character to appear in Final Fantasy IX.
Does it?
Yeah, the Buster Sword's in Final Fantasy IX.
Oh really?
In a weapon shop, yeah.
Oh shit. I did not realize that. I'll probably Google that. Buster Sword. You remember what like city it's in, or
I think it's in Lindblom. I don't remember specifically though.
what is it? Like, there's like 3 pictures up here at the top that like, so it must be in here. Oh yeah, I remember even this line. Now that Zidane says, "I remember a guy with spiky hair who carried something like this." That's right. Oh
Yeah.
man, I completely forgot about that. That's
So
cool.
yeah, the Buster
Yeah,
Sword's fucking iconic,
it is.
and they did a good job of like creating a system that allows you to still have all the other, because people love the other weapons too. Like the nail bat's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it's fun. It's cool.
Um, and I loved going into Punisher mode with the nail bat when you're just like, bam,
Yeah, it
and
just
like you
hits that
can
home
literally
run.
knock characters out of the screen.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah.
It's like fucking Super Smash Brothers, and it's like, yeah,
And that's again one of those just like updates that a lot of games are just kind of doing now. And I know I talk about God of War a lot, but like that's kind of how God of War is. Like you there's not one best armor. There's just like armors with different
it's
skills.
just
It,
what the way you want to play
the
the
way
game.
you want to play, yeah. What you do you want to focus on damage? Do you want to focus on defense? Do you want to focus on health? Do you want to focus on special attacks? And you can play it however you want, and that's
And you know
you can
what?
still upgrade
In
your equipment, but you can focus on what you like and how you like to play.
in my entire first like playthrough, and even my second playthrough, like when I went back and was like, I need to actually finish this on normal. I remember thinking like the one mechanic that doesn't make any sense to me because I can't figure out why you'd ever use it was Chadley's like reset weapon upgrade thing
Oh yeah.
until I maxed out. And then I went back, and the first thing I did in my hard mode New Game Plus was I went and reset every single one of my
Yeah.
weapons. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I am gonna rebuild this knowing every single option I have,
Yeah.
and like customize every single one of these weapons. So it's like, this is my main weapon, this is my brute strength weapon, this
Yeah.
is my magic weapon,
Yeah.
like this is my,
You got to
and
play
like,
to each weapon's strength.
yep. And you need Chadley for that, because like you're gonna fuck up the weapons your first playthrough because you get the upgrades as they come,
Yeah.
and then you don't get your last set of upgrades until you're like
Until you
in
beat hard
hard mode
mode. You
essentially.
have to you
Yeah.
have to beat all of hard mode and get all
You
of
have to
the
beat. Oh, so there's a whole nother level after you
No, no,
get
no, no,
to
I'm
level
sorry.
6?
No, that's not what I meant. Like the just the manuscripts.
Oh yeah, the manuscripts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cuz like you can't fully max out your weapons until you get all of the manuscripts.
Right.
But you have to play
But
through
you
hard
don't
mode to
even
get that.
unlock the last core until you've essentially gotten to level 50 and then
Yeah.
gotten your first extra manuscript from hard mode.
Yeah, yeah.
So like you have to start playing in hard mode before you can really understand how good your weapon could potentially be.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't know
And
how to build it. And honestly, you would be stupid to not build it up while you're leveling up and getting
yeah,
stronger.
of course, because
So,
otherwise your weapon's gonna suck.
yeah.
But like
So
then
it's
you really have to go back at the end and completely scrap it and rebuild it, like,
yeah.
and optimize it.
Yeah. So
And that's a
it's good that
great
they
mechanic that I thought was so pointless when
yeah.
they first explained it to me. And I was like, why would I ever do this? Why
Yeah.
would I ever just reset all of my upgrades?
Yeah.
And fucking Chadley, dude. I like,
What, do you like him or you don't like him?
I mean, it's fucking Chadley. Like, I don't. I don't know. I mean, he's the most.
Man, I love Chadley. I don't care. I love Chadley.
Cloud. No matter where you go, no
Yeah.
matter what the fuck context is going on,
Yeah.
you just run into a new city and you turn a corner,
Yeah.
and no matter how out of place it may seem, like,
Oh, Chadley!
Cloud,
Cloud!
I've developed some new materia. Oh, hey, Chadley.
Oh,
And
man.
oh my god, when you get to fucking Shinra headquarters and you come out of that VR training,
Yeah.
and you're talking to the like mayor's guy, and
Yeah.
in the background,
And you just see him.
Chadley staring at you, and you're
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
What are you
What are we
doing
doing
here?
here? And it's so creepy. He's just like
Yeah.
watching you, and you're just
Yeah.
thinking like, this is really weird.
Oh man. Although like so yeah, you know what Chadley is.
Yeah, he's a cyborg created by
He's
Hojo
by
and shit.
Hojo.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of things with that. I liked Chadley as just like a kid who was just on the spectrum and who was awkward, and like I was kind of like, oh, that's cool that they kind of have
Yeah.
this like representation of that.
Yeah.
So I wish
I
they
can
would
see
have
that.
kept that,
Kind of
or
leaned into that a little bit.
yeah, or he, ended
They
up
have Cloud already though, so.
yeah. But like they also kind of ruined him by saying, oh, Cloud, I look up to you and you set me free and now I'm like no longer really working with Hojo. I think it would have been better had like he just been this whole time I have been collecting data for Hojo, and like now Hojo knows everything about you and you're fucked.
But the reason they didn't do that is because you know Chadley as a mechanic through the rest of these fucking games.
Yeah.
And so like you're gonna go to Junon and you're gonna turn a corner. Oh, Cloud! I've developed new materia! I'm serious. I was not joking when I said I fully anticipate to be in Northern Crater at the end of the game, and Chadley is gonna fucking be there.
Yeah.
In fact, you know what I think? Chadley's gonna be on the fucking Highwind.
Oh
Chadley
yeah,
is
he's
gonna
gonna
be
have to
the
be.
fucking. He's gonna be the fucking guy that you go up and talk to, and he's like, "Thank you for a job well done," and you can like restore your MP or save or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's gonna be Chadley.
That's gonna be Chadley.
Or Chadley's gonna be somewhere. Like they'll probably just be a bench, but like
Yeah.
Chadley will be on the Highwind.
Yeah.
Once you get the Highwind.
Yeah.
And so will Chocobo Sam.
Oh yeah, of course. That's gonna be great.
Fuck that. Can you imagine if we just get all these characters together on the fucking Highwind?
Yeah, man.
And we're just all just this unified fucking army that's ready to fucking fight Sephiroth and Shinra and shit.
Yeah.
Ooh, God, that'll be good.
Oh, so good.
I love the new characters.
Yeah.
As much as I give Kyrie shit, she's even not terrible. She's alright.
Yeah.
I just think she's a fucking scuffed Yuffie, and just save that shit for Yuffie. Why do you have to fucking force this character? I hated the fucking Angel of the Slums side quests.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. It didn't really bother me. It was fine.
there was one good line.
Between Kyrie and like the Angel of the Slums.
Yeah, don't
like,
rummage around in people. Wipe your own ass
Yeah.
before you rummage around in other people's
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. Like that line might have been worth both of those characters.
But the stupidity of how obvious it was who the Angel of the Slums was, and then
Yeah, and how people
carry out
no
this
one
mystery.
like no one picked up on it. And like when she
Yeah.
finally reveals it, I think Tifa is the one who's like, "What?"
Well,
like,
to be fair,
how
though,
did you not realize that?
Tifa wasn't there for the rest of the investigation. Like that was the
I
first time
guess,
Tifa had
yeah.
actually met that
I
chick.
guess, yeah.
Like it was
makes more
Aerith and
sense.
Cloud that did all the other side quests with her.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking at it like from the player's perspective, not
Right.
the actual
So
characters.
Tifa, the weirder question is like, why does Tifa even know who this woman is?
Well, if she's the Angel of the Slums, I feel like everybody in the slums knows her. Or
No, they
knows
know the Angel of the Slums, but she wouldn't
her.
know who like Mirie,
Yeah.
or whatever her name was. She
Yeah.
wouldn't have recognized her and drawn any significance from her being. Or maybe,
But she still could have
the
just been
reveal
excited.
That someone was the Angel of the Slums would be like, oh wow, that's big.
Like she's kind of been this legend throughout the slums, and once you finally find out who it is, like doesn't matter who it is, it'd be exciting and you'd be like, oh, I finally know who the Angel of the Slum is.
You know what I think they should have done?
Tell me.
I think they should have made the train graveyard a side quest.
How could they have done that?
I don't know.
I mean, they could have.
Should have just speed versioned you through it the first time just to get to the fucking pillar, because god damn it, you need to get to that pillar. Like especially like the worst moment of the game for me is immediately preceding one of the best moments of the game is when you get through the first boss in the ghost train graveyard, and they're like, okay, like they've added quite a bit to this, but now we're ready to like move on with the story. and you get to that point where you're actually moving the trains, and you're like, okay, we're close to the end here,
Yeah.
and you hear that radio between like Sang and Reno, and then the helicopters are flying
Yeah.
over. You can see the pillar in the background. You actually hear that version of the Turks music that's like that big orchestral, and you get that boom boom boom.
Yeah.
And you're like running towards, and you're just like running across these train, and you're speeding towards the pillar, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my god, they are building this so well.
Yeah.
And then you turn a corner and you're back to ghost shit again.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
one boss was
how-
enough for that section of the game. And then let alone like they just lost momentum. So much momentum.
and then it extra pissed me off because that is the boss that I got stuck on for like 2 hours.
Man,
And
that sucks,
and
man.
it was because I skipped the Corneo Coliseum. I know it's because I was just under leveled, and then my fucking AIs just wouldn't keep themselves alive.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fuck this fight. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go to easy mode and I'm gonna get through this shit.
Yeah. Man, what was that your hardest boss?
Yes.
Yeah. For me, like the hardest boss was strange by far was the Hell House on hard.
That's what most people say, but you know what? I have never died to the Hell House.
Yeah, and like the thing is, I think I beat it the first time, maybe the second time on my first playthrough. And like but like nothing throughout the entire game. Again, I didn't do all of the like VR missions and all of the Corneo mission stuff.
Yeah.
But like no boss in my first playthrough killed me more than twice. And then like for some reason the Hell House on hard my second time through, like I had to do it a dozen times.
It's not even that that Eligor in the train graveyard killed me so many times. It's that it was such a long fight.
Yeah.
And he killed me at the very end of the fight every single time.
Yeah.
And I just got like, I just fought you for a half hour again, and now
Yeah.
I have to start over. And like that's the kind of shit that like I appreciate how cool these boss fights were, but like when you've been fighting
a lot
a
of them are
single
very
boss for like 20 plus minutes, and then it cheap shots you at the end,
I think,
like it
yeah.
that just
The
pisses me
maddest I
off.
got when I was playing the game was that like very end Bahamut fight when the three things merged to become Bahamut.
Yeah.
Because like I was doing all right, and then it just like it interrupted a couple of like cure spells and then revive spells, and it just like kept interrupting me, and so like it just my party just dropped way too quickly, and then you die, and I'm just like, okay, so I just got to do that fight again, but I have to go all the way back to the beginning of that fight, and I was so mad.
Oh yeah, because it's a super obnoxious fight.
It was,
Like,
and I think
you
it
have
took
to
a
fight
good
those
20-25 minutes to get back to where it
Yeah.
was.
You have to fight those whisper
Yeah.
figments over and over and over again, and then you kill them, and then they come right back, and then
Yeah.
you kill them again, and they come right back, and then you fight them one at a time, and then they turn into Bahamut, and then you have to fight them again after they're Bahamut.
Yep.
And you're just like, holy shit, dude! Like,
Yeah.
and that probably added to my anger when I shit
Yeah.
you not, I kind of wish I would have streamed this game, because like my reaction when I got to Sephiroth on the highway was just rage. Like
Yeah.
I was screaming. I was like, why the fuck is this happening?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to fight Sephiroth right now. Oh, we're in Advent Children. Cool. This is Advent Children now. This is
Yeah.
literally Advent Children. And
Yeah.
it would have been fun to have captured that on camera, but
Yeah.
whatever. Moments lost.
Yeah. I'm sure the future games will piss us off too. Don't worry.
Which is funny because like I was so glowingly in love with the rest of that game, and
Oh,
it just turned on a dime there
Yeah.
at the end.
Right?
And I just like, looking back, I do like the ending a lot more than I gave it credit the first
Oh, yeah.
time. I still
Yeah.
don't like Zack being back alive. I don't like that. I really hate Biggs being back alive. but the Killing Destiny thing, it's growing on me a little bit.
Yeah. And I think from a dev standpoint, I'm sure that was a super fun ending to make.
Oh,
That's
sure, and
something.
it was cool. Like it was really
Oh yeah,
fucking
yeah.
like if you're just
They
watching it and you're not emotionally invested in how the
yeah
story goes, like it's just
they
fun to
they got
look
it. They
at.
got a chance to really get flashy and do the
Yeah.
fun stuff that's I think is really fun for developers and artists and creators. To just make really fun shit flying around and
Yeah.
fights where that are just
And part of I think what was a little annoying to me is like all the cool shit where you're like hopping from rooftop to rooftop and cutting through buildings. I was like, this almost feels like this was like literally copy pasted from Kingdom Hearts 2.
yeah
Because this exact same sequence like exists in like that like world without end or whatever it's
yeah
called.
yeah with
What
like
like the last
Riku and
couple
Sora
fights.
and yeah
Yeah, and I was just like, this is almost like beat by beat this sequence.
yeah
It's like, did you guys literally just take the code from this scene and like put it into this game?
yeah
And I just remember thinking like this would be cool if I hadn't like seen it before, almost identically.
yeah
And then all the cool shit that Sephiroth does is literally the exact same shit that he does in Advent
and Advent
Children. Like
Children
when he
yeah
like raises his hand up and all of Midgar like crumbles to the sky. It's
yeah
like
and then he starts
that's neat,
throwing the
but
buildings at you.
we've verbatim seen this before.
Yeah.
Like
It's like they really wanted to let you know, like, if there was any doubt, this is Advent Children Sephiroth.
yeah, which I don't like Advent Children
Yeah,
Sephiroth. Like it's
I
my least
don't
favorite
think that
Sephiroth.
was the best move. Even if I mean maybe like say they teased it. I don't know. Never mind, that wouldn't have been any better. And just like revealed it in later games that it was actually Advent Children Sephiroth. I don't think
Yeah,
that
I
would have
mean,
been any
also
better.
like, do we have two Sephiroths now? Like, is the rest of the
Well,
game is there going to be like the Sephiroth? Because
I
obviously we still have Sephiroth at Northern Crater,
yeah. And then
and then there's another Sephiroth like flying around like trying to like
I assume there's like
stop.
three now. There's Sephiroth at Northern Crater. There's the Sephiroth that killed. Well, no, because I guess that. Fuck. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, because all the Sephiroths that like do shit through most of the game are just the tattoo guys,
Yeah,
like
like
just in
Genova.
disguised as Sephiroth because Genova can like make anybody really.
Yeah,
And my interpretation of all has always been that like it's really Genova more so than Sephiroth that is the antagonist of Final Fantasy VII. It's just Sephiroth is the symbol that Genova uses to like really create an emotional connection within Cloud and Tifa,
yeah,
but also just because he like strikes fear in like the hearts of everyone across the world.
yeah,
So that like Sephiroth is this perfect symbol of this like because he died like espousing Genova's rise.
yeah,
So that when Genova like took a form, she would take the form of Sephiroth. Also because he had like infused with her in the live stream, and there was like a bunch of reasons. But like I considered Genova to be like the main agent in the story,
yeah,
more so than Sephiroth, who's just kind of asleep at Northern Crater through the
yeah,
entire game.
yeah,
But now Sephiroth is very much Sephiroth, and he seems to have not only defeated time, but the very nature of what a video game is.
yeah,
So he's in some meta fight with like the world, which only serves to make him like the most badass video game villain ever. That he's even going to destroy the nature of the structure of the game itself.
yeah.
But is that cool or is that dumb? I don't know.
I
Time will
don't know.
tell.
Time will tell. It just makes me think of that video of I forget the guy's name that you showed me, where like he's going through like with Kingdom Hearts and like telling the natural progression of a story, and like there's 12 points that every story needs to hit, and then he's like, oh wait, no wait, there's
Oh,
this.
the Polygon guy. What's his? I forget his
Yeah,
name. Yeah.
and then he's like, oh wait a second, there's this other Kingdom Hearts game, so we have to tie the story in here, and then that whole thing.
And then
I
Kingdom
just
Hearts is a total mess.
yeah, yeah, and then that line he gives at the end is so good, which you should watch that video. I'm not gonna ruin that video for you, but it's really good. Go look it up.
Yeah. I would love to see him do something on Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. He hasn't done any
Does he?
videos
I
in a
don't.
while.
Yeah, I don't really follow him. Like I've been following a lot of like Final Fantasy VII people.
You know, another someone else you should look up.
Who?
Um, MinMax. Have you heard of them? They
Just
do a thing called the deepest
MINMAX.
MINNMAX. They do a thing called the deepest dive.
MinMax show.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they go through about 5 chapters of
Welcome
a
to
time and talk about it for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And like the guy who runs the show has a lot of like energy and charisma. He used to work for Game Informer, I think. Um, but really, really fun to watch.
Oh
Like,
well, there's a
and
lot of
they
Final Fantasy stuff here.
yeah, and they also played through all of Dirge's Cerberus too, which is just funny,
Yeah.
just to like build up to this game. And it's a struggle.
Oh, I have seen some of these guys with like in podcasts doing just podcasts with other people.
Yeah.
They look familiar. I've seen them before.
Um, their deep dives are really good.
Yeah.
Like um, oh, I just thought like they really nailed some of the things that I think nobody else. Because as much as I liked Resident Arc, as
Yeah.
much as I liked their stuff, they were almost too negative for me.
Yeah.
Like
The main guy. Yeah, cuz
the main guy and then that one like academic guy like really
yeah.
hated this game.
Yeah. And like
And
did you
like
watch the like or listen to like the second part of the podcast?
the one that was just them
Just
and
them?
not Night Sky Prince and the other guy.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
listen? Yeah. And
Yeah, I did.
they had some good points and I'm glad I listened to it, but like it was pretty dry as well. And like you said, they were
Yeah.
very negative. Too
They were
negative.
very negative, and I thought like I mean at first it was kind of nice hearing the things that they were saying, because I had heard so many podcasts of the sort where people were just talking about I think this is great, and I'm
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
no, it isn't great. It isn't great. Be honest, like
Yeah. No, like I
and
love Night Sky and Soldier First Class like
he
take on it. Like
Night
they
Sky, honestly, way back in the day, I'm talking like 2017. I
yeah.
remember he was fucking making videos like once a week about Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
Back when the rest of us were like, dude, this game's not happening.
Yeah.
Just like Square Enix threw that trailer out, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And he was just, God bless his fucking heart. He just
Yeah.
would not give up on this game. And I remember there was a period of time where I found him so incredibly annoying just because of his like his demeanor and like his just optimism and his just like oh yeah, everything like Square Enix does is great, but like I respect his integrity. Of all the people who were like majorly visible um kind of commentators on just this game,
Yeah.
I think he has come out with the most honest take
Yeah.
on like how he feels about this game.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of people, and no disrespect to any like influencers in the Final Fantasy VII community, but I think a lot of these people who are become a little bit closer to the developers are hyper aware that they are being watched, and so they feel a pressure, whether they even realize it or not, to say positive things rather than negative things and try to like be very optimistic.
Yeah.
When if they didn't have that pressure and if they weren't in such a spotlight, I think they would be a lot more honest about how they really feel about some of these things.
You think?
Because
Yeah.
I've seen some people make some huge stretches and
Yeah.
some huge leaps to try to make this ending like cohesive, when I really just think if it is brilliant, we're missing pieces, because like what we have right now is not brilliant. It's a mess. And I'm willing to accept, because of how good the rest of the game is, that they have a plan and this may come together and be really, really, really good. But right now, it's a sloppy finish
Yeah.
to a really good game.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I hope those optimists are right, but I'm just not as optimistic as they are.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. We need the optimism. We need
Yeah,
people
yeah.
to like.
Oh, did I lose you? All right, you back?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I think we should wrap it.
Yeah.
We talked about this for several hours,
Yeah.
which I needed and I wanted, and now we gotta call it.
Yep. All right, man. This was fun. I love doing this, and I do hope we do stuff like this in the future.
Yeah,
We were talking
I
about
want to continue to do this.
yeah, possibly doing like a regular thing with Jorgs. I don't think we would do stuff this long.
No.
This is I mean, this is just it's a special game and it deserves special attention. So
But I'm all for like if we find a game that we're all mutually interested in and we all want to play and then do another one of these, though, I think that'd be really cool.
yeah.
Or just find something like smaller that we can do shorter.
Yeah, because we were talking about doing like TV shows and stuff, and
Yeah.
we'll see where it goes.
Cool.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.
Bye, brother.
I'll see you soon. Bye.